pretty nice day in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. 51 degrees and the sun is shining. Let's check in downstairs with Evan Washburn. Evan.
Well, Greg, the Titans are starting 4 rookies at key positions this afternoon, including middle linebacker and quarterback. And coming off that Monday night loss to the Steelers, it's been a short work week to prepare for a unique opponent. And Ken Wisenhunt was honest with us last night. He said, it hurts us. These guys just haven't done it before. And adding to their challenges, they arrived at their team hotel 3 hours late last night. Mechanical problems with their team charter delayed them out of Tennessee. Greg?
All right, Evan, thank you. We asked Coach Wisenhunt what he would do if he won the toss. He said, I honestly don't know. Well, he did win the toss, and they will defer, which means that they will give Chip Kelly and the Philadelphia Eagles the football first, which takes a little guts.
It does, when you think about the tempo that Chip Kelly likes to run his offense. But sometimes as a head coach, you want to get the vibe of your team, and a lot of that comes through during warm-ups, the kind of feeling you're getting from your players.
Tennessee will kick it away. Number 11, Josh Huff, is deep for the Eagles. And we are underway at Lincoln Financial Field. We'll run this one out of the end zone. To the 20, and here he goes up the sideline. Huff! Can he outrun the last tackler? He will! Touchdown, Eagles! 107 yards. The second kickoff return for a touchdown by the Eagles this season.
Well, if you're Ken Wisenhunt and the Tennessee Titans, that's not the way you want to start when you decide to defer and give the ball to the Eagles first. You understand the Eagles have a high-powered offense, but the fact that they get that return.
13 seconds off the clock.
You're going to see the return here. He's going to come up and wind his way through, but wait till you see the blocking lane right through the slots there. He's going to come up the numbers. You'll see a nice seal. Look at the lane right here. There's nobody right there. He's able to get through there, get outside those numbers, and then it's a foot race. Ryan Suckup has an angle, just not a good enough angle, and then a last attempt here by Brandon Gee with the stiff arm getting into the end zone.
Mark Sanchez on the sideline says, hey, haven't even touched the ball and we're in the lead.
I tell you, as a quarterback, you love that. You love that. You get spotted a touchdown lead and the excitement of the opening kickoff, and you're hoping to get good field position, get out there and get into a rhythm, but you always take that 7-point lead if you can.
Josh Huff, the rookie third-round pick out of Oregon, his first NFL touchdown. This Philadelphia special teams unit has been very special this year so far.
Well, I don't even know if we have enough time to rattle off all the good things they've done. They've got 3 blocked punts, 2 of those going for touchdowns. They have 2 punt returns for touchdowns. They now have a kickoff return for a touchdown. It's actually their second kickoff return for a touchdown. They've blocked field goals, blocked PATs. It's all across the board what they've done special teams-wise.
Leon Washington to receive this kick. 8 career kickoff return touchdowns for Washington, but he's wrapped up just as he crosses the 15-yard line and marked down at the 17. Brandon Graham with the special teams tackle, and the Titans quarterback is the rookie out of LSU, Zach Mettenberger, making his 4th career start. Tennessee trying to figure out, Trent, if he's their quarterback of the future.
They are, and if last week is any indication, this quick 7-point deficit isn't going to phase Zach Mettenberger very much. Last week, as you remember, against Pittsburgh, threw a pick-6 on his first pass attempt, and it really didn't unsettle him. They were able to build a big second-half lead before ultimately losing that football game.
From the shotgun, Mettenberger with Bishop Sankey alongside of him, and Mettenberger to throw right off the bat. Going to go deep down the far sideline, and that is pulled in and dropped. Intended for Delaney Walker. Incomplete.
Both Ken Wisenhunt and Zach Mettenberger talked to us about Delaney Walker and having him back on the field after last week. Delaney not being able to play. You can see there a nice throw. He puts it in position, just not able to bring it in with the defense knocking it out as he hits the ground. Nice job by Malcolm Jenkins.
Yeah, there's a perfect example of a receiver not being able to follow through and complete the play. 2nd and 10. I hope Mike Carey's listening. He'd have been proud of me.
That's right.
Mettenberger looking to set up a screen that just didn't develop. Connor Barwin putting pressure up front for the Titans at left tackle. Their first-round draft pick, Taylor Lewan, picked 11th overall from Michigan. And the offense gets tight end Delaney Walker back. Their second leading receiver suffered a concussion at Baltimore 2 weeks ago and missed the Pittsburgh game last week. 3rd and 10. Mettenberger decked inside the 10-yard line by Connor Barwin. Comes into this game with 10.5 sacks, tied for 2nd in the NFL. Put another one on the board for him.
Connor right here, 98. Connor Barwin's going to come off the twist here. It's just an ET with the defensive tackle going outside, him coming inside. That causes confusion for the offensive line. If they don't pass that off, you're going to have a hard time blocking that all day. There has to be communication along that offensive line.
Connor Barwin is having himself some season. His 2nd year with the Eagles after 4 with Houston. Darren Sproles is deep. He has 2 punt returns for touchdowns this season and is the #1 punt returner in the NFL. And he will be down at about the 50-yard line. Boy, the Eagles get off to the best possible start. A 107-yard kickoff return, the best in their history. Eagles by touchdown. Here's Mark Sanchez in his 3rd start in relief of injured Nick Foles. 1 good outing, Trent, 1 not so good.
Well, that's just the consistency thing that we talked about at the open, and really for him, this is going to be a fast-paced track meet type of offense, and he feels really comfortable running Chip Kelly's system.
He feels it's custom-made for him. He loves it. LaShawn McCoy in the backfield with him. Sanchez fakes one way, comes this way with the screen for McCoy, and McCoy back to the line of scrimmage. Injuries have hit that offensive line hard this year. Andrew Gardner starting at right guard today for Matt Tobin. And Jeremy Maclin, who missed all of last year with a torn ACL, having an outstanding year, 57 catches and 9 touchdowns as the Eagles are right back at it. McCoy, inside the 40, to the 35, and a 1st down. Brought down by Cody Sensabaugh.
Nice job by the right side of the offensive line, creating the lane. McCoy talked about coming into this game only 3.7 yards a carry. He's had a lot of critics, and he faced some of those critics this week and talked to us. He kind of chuckled with us when we brought that up to him in the meeting. He doesn't feel like he's any different player.
Boy, once again, the left side. And I bristled a little bit when they asked if he was the same guy. On defense for Tennessee, watch number 99, Jarrell Casey. Every Eagle we spoke with says he's a beast, a balanced linebacking core. 5th-year man Derek Morgan comes off one corner. And at safety, the veteran Michael Griffin, 24 career interceptions, 2 of them this season. Sanchez throwing. That's complete to the tight end, Selleck. Then Selleck inside the 20-yard line. That'll be another Philadelphia 1st down.
That's where that hurry-up tempo of the Eagles causes problems for the defense, as Selleck is left uncovered. 2 guys are running down the field covering Riley, and nobody takes Selleck as he's dragging across the field.
McCoy on the sideline, and Sproles in the backfield, and Sanchez has to throw it away. Being chased by Avery Washington. Last time the Eagles scored an opening drive touchdown, December 22nd of last season. Nick Foles to Riley Cooper for a 5-yard touchdown pass against the Chicago Bears. Eagles 11-game streak without an opening drive, the 2nd longest active streak behind Tennessee. Second and 10. This is McCoy. down about the 7-yard line.
And that's what the emergence of Darren Sproles in this system has done, is creating space, and he's in the backfield with McCoy. He motions to the outside. The defense has to notice that, and McCoy runs the other direction where the defense had left a void.
First and goal for Philadelphia. Dips inside the 5 to about the 4. Yeah, we were saying he bristled when they brought up to him this week, are you the same guy? Because his performance level hadn't quite been the same, and so of course we asked him that when he first walked into our production.
Of course you have to. That's why I said that chuckle he had was a little bit of a sarcastic chuckle. So I like your comment though when he was leaving. He said you should take a piece of tape on the back and over your name put "same guy."
Same guy. Please everybody. Second and goal. Sproles, left side, to the end zone, touchdown. Sproles, boy, you wonder if his knee would have been down before that football got to the goal line.
Well, and Michael Griffin comes flying in from his safety position. He and George Wilson made contact with him around that 2-yard line. He extended.
Previous play is under further review.
Jerome Boger, our referee today, confirming what we know about scoring plays. They're all taking a second look upstairs, and as they take a look, we will take a break. 10:44 to play in the first quarter in Philadelphia.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Southwest Airlines. Book your low fare now at southwest.com. Pizza Hut. We're taking pizza where it's never been before. And by Jared, the Galleria of Jewelry.
Back in Philadelphia, Jerome Boger taking a long look at this one and has made his decision, and here it is.
After reviewing the play, the ruling on the field stands. Touchdown, Philadelphia.
And to make a Sunday afternoon complete, we check in with Mike Carey in New York. Hello, Mike. What'd you think about this call and this play?
Well, you can see the Sproles' right knee hits, and the ball is hovering over the goal line, but we really can't see clearly whether it broke the plane or not. So stands is the best ruling in this case.
Yeah, but it just figures that there isn't enough there to overturn, right, Mike?
Yes, right. Your instinct says he's probably short, but you can't prove it.
Appreciate it, Mike. Thank you much. The extra point is good. 10:44 to play here in the first quarter, and the Eagles off to a quick 2-touchdown lead, and not the ideal start the Tennessee Titans had in mind.
You know, Philadelphia came into today having a 9-game home winning streak, and Tennessee had a tough task coming on the road, coming on this short week, as you said. Come back after that tough loss, losing an 11-point lead in the fourth quarter to Pittsburgh, and then all of a sudden having to walk in here where Philadelphia was embarrassed last week against Green Bay, and so they had something to prove. And we talked about the stretch of games they have coming up here the next 5 weeks to close out the season. So Tennessee walked into something that's hasn't been a good start for them.
Hey, while we have a moment, let's mention that people affected by severe weather and other disasters need help now. To support those impacted by disasters like the snowstorms in Buffalo and countless other crises, text Red Cross to 90999 to give $10 to American Red Cross Disaster Relief. CBS cares. Darren Sproles with his 5th rushing touchdown of the season. You know, Evan talked about all of these rookies that are on this Tennessee team. You kind of wonder how being in the hole so early will affect them.
Well, that's the thing. That's why it's such a big challenge for Ken Whisenhunt, dealing with the injury that he's dealing with, but then also the number of rookies that have to come back and make this comeback on the road.
Leon Washington up the middle, breaks right across the 30, spinning over the 40 to about the 42-yard line. So Leon Washington will give Mettenberger terrific field position.
Number 68 is eligible. Number 68 has reported as eligible.
Well, Leon Washington is one of those guys. We talked about the rookies and some of the inexperience. Leon Washington's not one of those guys. And you can see he does a nice job of reading his blocks, working, spinning, and getting up, giving him good field position to get this second drive started.
Mentioned it earlier, 8 career kickoff return touchdowns for number 29 in his 9th season now out of Florida State. So the Titans offense begins at its own 42-yard line. Bishop Sankey, the rookie running back, across the 45-yard line. The Eagles 3-4 defense. Chip Kelly says no glittering stats, but he'd rate number 91 Fletcher Cox the team's defensive MVP. Talk about glittering stats. Linebacker Connor Barwin has already a sack today, 11.5 on the year. And in the secondary, Malcolm Jenkins, the team leader in interceptions with 3, one of which he returned for a touchdown at San Francisco. Sankey with a pick up of 4 in the 2nd and 6. Sankey again. Little stop and start. He moves it to about the 49-yard line or so.
The logical thinking after last week's game where Pittsburgh was able to run, they were able to run the football against Tennessee, and now Tennessee trying to use some of that same chemistry, running the football, keeping the ball out of Philadelphia's hand, using that time of possession. Important to convert this third down.
3rd and 3. Mettenberger throwing, incomplete. Contact right around the 50-yard line, but no penalty flag. Intended for Justin Hunter and broken up by Malcolm Jenkins.
From up here in the booth, it looked like clear interference. The contact was made before the ball gets there. You see the offhand.
Sure was.
Twisting the receiver, and the other hand coming in early too, so there was not called though.
Darren Sproles back at his own 10-yard line. A dangerous punt returner. Brett Kern to kick it away. Bounces at the 15, fielded by Sproles. Going back to about the 17-yard line. 9 minutes and 6 seconds to play here in the first quarter that has been all Eagles so far. I want you to know you get the fastest football scores and updates with the CBS Sports app, the fastest app for sports fans. Download the CBS Sports app now. 9:06 to play in the first quarter where it's been all Philadelphia. You really care about time of possession when you're talking about the Philadelphia Eagles?
Well, not in this game, just because of how quickly they snapped the ball, and you saw the yardage there. That didn't even count the 107-yard kickoff return.
Sanchez throwing, and the quick slant is complete over the middle to Jordan Matthews, and he is hit in a hurry. And they are right back at it, hit by Michael Griffin.
Well, that's the aggressiveness that Griffin displays all the time. Sometimes when you're that aggressive, though, you can get over the top of him on a pass route.
Sanchez to the sideline, and that is complete to Jeremy Macklin. And that'll be a first down just across the 30-yard line. One of the things Mark Sanchez says, it's incredible that the pace of practice is much faster than it is in the regular game.
And we got to experience that yesterday when you're out there and you see how quickly they get the ball snapped. You see the officials walking away from Sanchez right there, and as soon as he passes Sanchez, Mark knows to snap the ball. That
one off the hands, the fingertips of Darren Sproles, incomplete. It'll be 2nd and 10. He says the real bummer for us is we've got to wait for the official to spot the ball, and we're all ready to go.
When I was just talked about, amazed at the athleticism of the offensive line, the type of conditioning they have to be in to keep up that tempo as well.
They give it to McCoy across the 35. Take a look at the time between plays here. And this one looks like it's going to be a little longer than average. Why? Because we put the clock in.
Well, of course, they chose to do it on us, but I think a lot of it has to do with that we're in 3rd and long, and they decided to change personnel. So we have personnel coming in and off the field. That's going to lengthen the play as well.
3 tight ends and 3rd and 7. Sanchez to throw. Looking, sideline, throwing, and complete across midfield. Penalty marker is down. McCoy making the catch out of the backfield.
Pass interference. Offense, number 25. 10-yard penalty. Replay, third down.
So they hit LaShawn McCoy with the offensive interference.
Well, McCoy was matched up on Wembley going down the left sideline. Good spot and location by Sanchez. It's just McCoy extended that right arm to get separation from Wembley. And thing about it is Wembley wasn't even turned around and didn't even know where the football was, so the push-off by McCoy wasn't even needed.
So now it's 3rd and 17. Sanchez with time, over the middle, overthrows everybody, incomplete. And Philadelphia will kick. And a much-needed defensive stop, by Tennessee.
Well, and it is just from a momentum standpoint, you know, and Tennessee started off with the ball in good field position after that Leon Washington return, and it appears that this time they should have good field position as well.
Dexter McCluster standing inside his 25-yard line. Ball will bounce and touch the Tennessee Titan, and good job by Dexter McCluster covering for Tennessee.
Yeah, Brandon Harris hit that. He was running down blocking, and that ball just happened to hit him. Good job by McCluster covering it up.
Here's the bounce off of the Titan, and a great job by McCluster to save the day momentarily.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by DirecTV. If you call yourself a sports fan, you gotta get DirecTV. And by TD Ameritrade.
Good look at Independence Hall here in Philadelphia, PA, as we return to the action. Mettenberger wrapped up and got rid of it before he got sacked.
There is no intentional download play. There was an elder receiver, number 13, in the vicinity. Second down.
Jerome Boger telling you that Kendall Wright was the nearby receiver.
Yeah, and Kendall Wright is the receiver. You know, Mettenberger, he's going to come out here and bootleg, but then they have the pressure coming off the edge. Wright is going to be out in the far right flat. And as he spins around, he's in the vicinity. People have to understand, as you're being thrown to the ground, you can't necessarily get as much into a pass as you would normally want to. It was in the direction of Wright. Whether or not it was close enough, he made the attempt to get it to Wright.
So it's an incomplete pass, 2nd and 10. Mettenberger throwing. That's McCluster out of the backfield. And McCluster puts his head down and pulls his way to about the 27, maybe the 28-yard line. Knocked out of bounds by Brandon Boykin.
Well, the Eagles are doing a good job of mixing things up for Zach Mettenberger. They blitz, they're bringing pressure, but then that time they only rushed 3 and dropped 8 into coverage and are forcing the young quarterback to make some decisions and be disciplined with his decisions.
Tennessee trying to avoid a 3rd consecutive 3 and out. They have 33 of them this year, and that's 3rd most in the NFL. Mettenberger on the quick slant, and that is incomplete, and the penalty marker is down. Justin Hunter, the intended receiver, covered by Boykin.
Pass interference. Offense, number 13. That penalty is declined. The result of play, 4th down.
Penalty is called on Kendall Wright.
And Wright's going to be on the bottom of your screen. And they're calling him with the offensive pass interference. Oh, they called him on the pick. He was in the slot. Wright was in the slot. It's that dreaded pick. Offensive guys would call that rubs. Defensive picks. That time it's called a pick. So
Sproles from the 23. And across the 35-yard line. 6:18 to play. 14-0 Eagles. And the NFL on CBS gives you a Thanksgiving Day treat. The Chicago Bears looking to sneak back into the playoff race. Visit the division-leading Detroit Lions. All begins with JB and Company on a special holiday edition of the NFL Today at noon Eastern here on CBS Sports. And Sanchez complete to tight end Zach Ertz.
Now here's that tempo we talked about. They're getting up on the line of scrimmage and
getting back at it on 2nd and 2. Sanchez with the fake and the pass, and that's complete. And this is Matthews, and Matthews for a first down inside the 40 to the Tennessee 39.
When you have 3 receivers clumped together like that, and you make it difficult on a defense, especially when they're in zone coverage, who's going to match up on who as they come into the zone? Good quick decision by Sanchez.
Another quick pass by Sanchez, and that's complete to Matthews. Boy, everybody in this organization's so high on Jordan Matthews, aren't they?
Well, they said it's not just the skill that he brings to the field, it's the things that he does off the field, just the learning. He's continually asking questions and trying to be better. He has a plan for his future.
Sanchez, far side of the field, and doesn't connect with Riley Cooper over there, so 3rd and 6 now. And you see the time on the incomplete pass, and they're still going to get up there, although now they're doing a personnel thing right away. Chris Polk is in the backfield with Sanchez now. Eagles need the 29-yard line for a first down. Polk, first down to the 20. Sanchez directing a little traffic with his left hand.
And good recognition by Mark. He sees the guy coming off that left slot. That's who he was pointing to, Greg. And just timely that they had the swing call to where the drop part of the coverage was. He hit him right in stride and able to get forward and get the first down.
Sanchez pumps, throws, incomplete. There was contact and a flag. Brad Smith hit by Michael Griffin. And Smith is still down. Easy, guys. This isn't a NASCAR race.
The ruling on the field, pass interference, defense, number 59. Spot of the foul, automatic, first down.
So Wesley Woodyard is the guilty party.
Well, here's Griffin, and Griffin's the one that's going to come up and make the hit on the crossing route. He's going to come up, and that's where the contact comes in. What they're calling the penalty on is Woodyard, and that's him coming out. Gosh, I don't even see how he's involved in it. I don't. They maybe got the number wrong. I don't know. Because the only one that he could be covering would be Selleck out in the flat, and he doesn't make any contact with him.
Well, Brad Smith still flat on his back inside the 10-yard line. Thursday on CBS, a new discovery could expose the madness behind Sherlock Holmes' method. Don't miss a rising new Elementary Thursday at 10/9 Central only. CBS. Brad Smith able to trot off the field under his own power. 1st and goal for Philadelphia at the Tennessee 9. Sanchez to throw. And gets buried at about the 17 or 18-yard line by Jarrell Casey. That's his 5th sack of the season.
And this is one of the few times where Sanchez has held on to the ball. He's looking to his left. He wants to get a combination route, that pump fake, and then try and get back to the right, and that just takes up too much time as Casey's able to throw his blocker and make the sack.
That's just one USC Trojan to another in the backfield there. On 2nd and goal, McCoy. And McCoy can't shake the tackler. Once again, Jarrell Casey. The 3rd-round draft pick back in 11. Now 15 and a half sacks. 26 quarterback hits since the 13th season. And mentioned it earlier. All the Eagles would say about him is he's a beast.
He's a big presence. You see these last 2 plays, all of a sudden the Eagles have 1st and goal inside the 10. Now they're back by their own 20.
On 3rd and goal, Sanchez throwing up the middle. Incomplete at the goal line. pass intended for Matthews. And a big collision there. Like Damian Stafford, number 39, making contact.
You see Stafford coming in from the left side of your screen. This ball hits Matthews in the hands, but Stafford's able to knock it loose. Good clean hit as well.
And perfectly timed. So Cody Parkey will attempt the field goal from 36 yards out. Kick on the way and good. So we're just under 3.5 to play in the first quarter, and the Eagles with 17 points on the board. 17-0 Philly. Back to CBS. This is the game after this. Back in Philadelphia, 3:25 to play in the first. Those 17 on the board, the most by the Eagles in the first quarter this season. Brad Smith had the wind knocked out of him. He's okay. However, Zach Ertz making his way to the locker room.
Greg, just not to state anything over obvious here, but Tennessee just needs to get some first downs to get the thing moving here. They haven't had a third down conversion, haven't had a first down, been 3 and outs. They've tried to do some mix with Mettenberger, but they haven't had success with that to this point.
Leon Washington will get a chance to run this one out from 3 yards deep in the end zone. And Washington out across the 20 to about the 25-yard line. Hey, Thursday Night Football returns in 2 weeks. Tony Romo and the Dallas Cowboys taking on the Chicago Bears, two of the NFL's greatest franchises meeting in prime time. Thursday, December 4th, 8 Eastern, live on
Number
NFL
68
Network.
is an eligible receiver. Number 68 is eligible.
Well, Greg, we saw Zach Ertz with that catch around the 5-minute mark of the first quarter. He's gone into the locker room to have his right oblique evaluated. His return is questionable.
All right, Evan, thank you. Bishop Sankey, and Sankey with running room. This Tennessee offense looking for a little spark. They entered into this series with just 3 total yards on the day.
And right when Evan was getting ready to talk, they talked about an offensive lineman, Stingley, coming in to be an eligible receiver. And he's staying in the football game. So that's sending the message they want to try and run this football, try and pound the ball a little bit, take a little bit of pressure off of Mettenberger and help out this offensive line with the extra body.
9-yard pickup for Sankey, 2nd and 1. Sankey, nowhere to go, nothing to do in the middle of that line.
The Eagles do a good job of clogging up the middle right at the point of attack where Sankey wants to take this football. As a young running back, there's certain times you have to understand you just need to lower your head and try and get back to the line of scrimmage and make it a more manageable or a shorter distance third down. Instead of, you saw Sankey all of a sudden, he kind of froze a little bit and tried bouncing back, thought about using his speed to bounce around to the outside, but realizing nowhere to go, he ultimately ended up just losing those 2 yards.
Tennessee 0 for 3 on third down today. McCluster grabbed the snap out of Mettenberger's hand and is down right about at that first down marker. Is it enough for the first? No. They back it up. It looks like it's about a half yard shy. And that's going to bring the punting unit on.
You were right, Greg. That didn't look good from the very beginning with the snap, with the exchange. The ball comes a little high, kind of catches Mettenberger by surprise. I don't know if he was even supposed to get his hands on that or not, or if that was supposed to be McCluster just picking it out of the air, but whatever it was, they're punting again.
So Brett Kern kicking it to Darren Sproles. Next kick drives Sproles back to inside his own 10-yard line. Penalty markers fly as Sproles weaves his way across the 25 to the 26. So let's see if this one works
During the
again.
return, illegal block in the back. Receiving team, number 22. Half the distance from the spot of the foul. Philadelphia keeps the ball. First down.
So that penalty on Brandon Boykin as you look at the playoff picture, and if you own an NFL team, you're in the playoff picture in the NFC.
I was like, wait a second, who's not on there? You can see Tampa Bay at 2-8. It's hard to say a team that's 2-8 is still in the hunt of the playoffs, but anything can happen in that NFC South. They're still right in the mix of it. You see Carolina in there as well at 3-7-1, and that division-leading Atlanta Falcons at 4-6.
New Orleans also at 4-6, but Atlanta's been the better team in the division thus far. First down. Eagles at their own 6-yard line thanks to the penalty. And this is McCoy. For about a yard, maybe 2. And we're in the final minute of the first quarter.
Well, McCoy, with a lot of criticism coming into this game about the way he's been running the football, he's been very effective running the football. He's right at 5 yards a carry, and he's had a couple big pops where he's able to get the defense on their heels and find those lanes.
Sanchez to throw on 2nd and 8, and that pass is intercepted. Picked off at the 30-yard line by Brandon Gee. His first pick of the season.
And on the right side of your screen, you'll see Gee coming in. He's one-on-one with Riley. And Riley just doesn't cross his face, and Gee attacks the ball.
You know, you're right. Riley Cooper did not put up a fight for the ball, did he?
Well, and that as a quarterback, some of that is trust. You're looking at the rotation of the safeties. You're looking at the rotation of the coverage. You know you have an isolated route one-on-one on the backside, and nice job by Gee recognizing that route, but Riley Cooper has to break that ball up, if not catch it across his face.
Tennessee from the 30-yard line. That pass is incomplete inside the 25-yard line, intended for Wright.
So the rotation that safety, you see the safety in the middle of the field, you have isolated right on the backside, you got a skinny post, and that's what you're trying to go to. As a quarterback, you see the rotation of the defense, you know you have an isolation on the backside. Riley Cooper has to cross his face and either catch that ball or make sure it's not intercepted.
Perfect position for Brandon Gee, wasn't it? This is Kendall Wright. Right out of bounds, right near that first down marker, and we have a penalty marker down.
Holding. Offense, number 82. 10-yard penalty. Replay, 2nd down.
That is Delaney Walker, the tight end.
Walker is going to be who's called on the backside. Here's Walker on Barwin. How much he actually grabs, I'm not sure, but anytime that defensive player spins out like that, that's a nice job by Connor Barwin to draw the attention of the officials.
I'm going to say anytime you spread your arms that wide open, you're going to at least get a good look. Let's see if the Titans get a play off before the clock expires here in the first quarter. No, they will not. So we come to the end of the first quarter here in Philadelphia, 17-0 Eagles. You're watching the NFL on CBS. Ready to start the second quarter. And Zach Mettenberger looking at a 2nd and 20, and he has to start completing some passes somewhere along the way here, Trent.
Yeah, 1 of 7 for 4 yards isn't going to get them in any sort of position. I think right now he has to worry about just getting half of this distance back. Number one, getting field goal range, but also make it more manageable on 3rd down.
Tennessee's managed just 12 yards on 13 total plays. Mettenberger to throw here. With time, throwing over the middle, tipped and caught. To the 10, to the 5, touchdown, Justin Hunter.
So much for Mettenberger just trying to get half of that distance back. He's pushing it up the field, and this is just a crossing route. This is just a crossing route coming from the backside. He's able to locate, has plenty of time. Puts that ball a little bit low. It gets tipped. Malcolm Jenkins has a chance to get his hand on the ball, and Hunter just uses good concentration, focuses, and then uses that speed to turn up the sideline.
So good fortune smiles on the Tennessee Titans at the start of the second quarter. They get on the board with a tipped pass for a touchdown. And the extra point is good. 14:51 to play now in the first half, and the Titans with their first score of the day. 17-7. Tennessee goes 30 yards in 2 plays in the touchdown pass in just 39 seconds to get on the board for the first time. Now Josh Huff returned the opening kickoff, 107 yards for a touchdown. Chris Polk is back to return this one. He returned 102 yards against Washington this season. And he will bring this one back from the 1. Contact at the 20-yard line. And not much further. Cameron Wimbley first to hit him. Let's go back to that touchdown pass.
Well, and as an offense, you try and run layers to give your quarterback options. Here, they're going to run a clear out here, a sit down here, and then you've got the route on the backside. He's just coming in across, and that's what you're trying. That's what you're trying to find. Is you're trying to give your quarterback options and depths. And when you have the 2 guys clearing out, that takes the safeties and the deep coverage. Then you have the sit down route that brings the underneath coverage, and then you're able to get right in that zone in the middle, and that's where Mettenberger does a nice job. Now, in order for all that to take place, Greg, you have to have great line protection.
Which he did. LaShawn McCoy bouncing it to the outside, running room, 35, and here goes LaShawn McCoy. And out of bounds inside the Tennessee 30-yard line.
Good job by McCoy, bouncing it to the outside. He gets to that second level, and then, of course, Griffin is such an aggressive safety. He comes up and he puts fierce hits on all day long, all game long. That's been his game his entire career. But because of that speed you come up to hit with, you sometimes can make a player miss, and that's exactly what McCoy did.
We have Cameron Wimbley slow to get up in the middle of the field.
And he actually grabbed his hamstring. He was one of the guys in pursuit of McCoy, and about 10 yards down the field, he reached back and grabbed that hamstring.
And you see him reaching for it there, the left hamstring.
Well, this is going to be Wimbley right here. You're going to see as he starts pursuing, trying to get after McCoy, he immediately grabs the back of his leg and goes down, and that's never a good sign. But walking off, hopefully it's nothing too serious. In fact, he's walking off is a good sign. But
so Wimbley out of the game. Quentin Groves, number 53, will replace him on the field. Sproles in the backfield with Sanchez. Quick pass, far side of the field, and that is complete to Macklin. And Macklin out of bounds.
I think McCoy may be trying to send a little bit of a message here. Everybody's giving him criticism, and he keeps saying, same guy, I'm the same guy. And he's got 87 yards already on 8 carries. Showing good burst, getting in the open field, using the speed, and also the elusiveness to make guys miss.
When I asked if he was the same guy to start off our meeting, I was just hoping he wouldn't hit me. Just please don't hit me. It's a joke. Sproles to about the 22. And McCoy led the league in rushing a season ago with 1,607 total yards. And 932 in his first 10 games.
So you can understand why the questions have come in if he's the same player, but we also have to understand the number of injuries along the Philadelphia offensive line that have taken place this year.
Sanchez pulls it down, throws, Sproles out of bounds at about the 15-yard line. That'll be another first down. Eagles' offensive line has been a bit of a problem. Only Jason Peters has started every game this season, as opposed to last year when they had the same 5 guys all year long.
Well, that bottom line, 10 different offensive linemen have played. That's amazing at this point in time of the season.
McCoy back to the line, maybe a smidge more.
And Greg, that's what makes it even all the more impressive that they're sitting here 7-3. When you have that many adjustments along the offensive line, the fact that you're on your backup quarterback, and still the fact that they're 7-3 and sitting in good position with Dallas, leading this division.
Now McCoy and Sproles in the backfield. And Sproles now sprinting out as McCoy gets the handoff and pulls his way to the 12. And now the pressure on the defense, the Titans trying to make adjustments on the fly, and that's what you have to do, and that's what Chip Kelly puts pressure on a defense, the way he approaches his offensive alignment.
Well, it is. We've talked about how quickly they can snap the ball, but when you have a lead and you're trying to use up the clock, just by hurrying up to the line, you put the pressure on the defense to be ready, even though you may want to stretch it out. Like here, they're going to snap it under 10 seconds on the post line.
3rd and 7. Sanchez throwing complete inside the 10-yard line, dragged down. Matthews on the receiving end, Michael Griffin making the stop. And that'll bring on the field goal unit. They're about 3 yards short of a first down. Now, Michael Griffin, when we talked to him yesterday, one of the more serious people coming into our production meetings, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, he's very focused, and rightfully so. He has he's a different perspective than a lot of the young guys or inexperienced guys that Tennessee has. He's a guy that's been there his entire career. He's seen a lot of changes, and he wants to win games now.
Cody Parkey from 26 yards out. And 3 more on the board for the guys from Philadelphia. 20-7.
Autofocus. K Jewelers. Every kiss begins with K. And by the all-new 2015 Honda Fit. The new Fit is a great fit for you.
Yeah, Sylvester Stallone says he used Trent Green as a model for his Rocky portrait. This is Bishop Sankey. They run it out. And Sankey, still on his feet, spins his way across the 15 and forward to about the 19-yard line. The SEC on CBS heats up your holiday. Friday, Arkansas takes on Missouri. Saturday, playoff pecking order in the mix. Mississippi State and Ole Miss battle in the Egg Bowl. It starts with Inside College Football. College football
Number
today.
68
Live
is an eligible receiver.
Eastern time.
Number 68 is eligible.
Here on CBS. You brought up an interesting point during the break, Trent. That should Tennessee drive down and score a touchdown,
all of a sudden it's back in the mix. Considering how Philadelphia has dominated this entire first half, but now all of a sudden Tennessee's right in the mix. All comes off of getting that touchdown after the Sanchez interception. Now they got to prove they can drive the length of the field.
Tennessee with 1 first down all day today. Mettenberger throwing, got his man, Delaney Walker, and Walker to the 35, to the 20, inside the 15-yard line. Nate Allen finally dragged him down.
Wisenhunt talked about getting Delaney Walker. He's coming in motion, and he's the one that's going to get up the seam. They come off the play fake, but look at the pressure that Philadelphia brings. Nearly getting the sack of Mettenberger. He's able to get it off. He knows he has that isolation one-on-one with Walker up that left seam, and great placement of the ball. He had to throw that ball with anticipation, throw that ball early, and Walker was able to get his head around and locate it.
A career-long 68-yard reception for Delaney Walker. Mettenberger's got to hurry. Got the snap off. Sankey. Inside the 10 to about the 8.5-yard line. Bishop Sankey walked into our production meeting. Could you believe how small he is?
He packs a powerful punch. Yeah, I was a little.
Number 68 is an eligible receiver. 68 is eligible.
I was a little surprised, but I think he plays with a lot of passion.
Oh, doesn't he though?
He was excitable sitting in the meeting. You could tell he was glad to be getting this opportunity and come in and have an impact today.
Sean Green in the backfield for the first time today. Green with the handoff and no place to go. So now it'll be 3rd and 5. 5 yards for a first down, 8 yards for a touchdown.
Well, Tennessee's bringing a whole wave of players in. 4 players coming in substitution, taking that extra offensive lineman out, that jumbo personnel where they've been running the ball the last 2 times. Now they're going to spread out Philadelphia here on 3rd down.
Tennessee tells us from downstairs that Cameron Windley did indeed suffer a hamstring injury. His return is questionable today. And Mettenberger calls timeout. 9-10 to play.
Timeout, Tennessee. They're first. This is a 30-second timeout.
So the natural question here, Trent, is which direction do the Tennessee Titans call they haven't had that much working for them offensively today.
Well, the interesting thing is talking to Connor Barwin in Philadelphia yesterday, they know that Mettenberger is not a mobile type guy. A lot of times in this situation, down in the red zone, especially at 3rd and 5, 3rd and 6, you think the quarterbacks are going to move around, move outside the pocket, try and give you a different landmark. But Barwin told us yesterday, you know where Mettenberger is going to be. He goes back his 3, 5, 7-step drop, and he hunkers down. He's not looking to bounce around. He wants to stand firm and make his throws. So I would anticipate that here on 3rd down.
Mettenberger began the game completing 1 of his first 7 attempts. He's been 2 out of 2 since for a total of 108 yards. 3rd and 5. Mettenberger goes down, penalty markers flies. Number 75, Vinny Curry, in on him.
Yeah, they're going to get him with a face mask penalty here.
And they're discussing it. Well, Jerome Bogert threw the flag himself.
Personal foul, grabbing the face mask. Defense, number 75. Half the distance to the goal, automatic, first down.
So Vinny Curry guilty of the flag.
See, as Mettenberger tries to scramble to his right, Curry gets that left hand up in the face mask.
Just enough to yank it a little bit.
Number 68 is the eligible receiver. Number 68 is eligible.
So 1st and goal now for Tennessee at the Philadelphia 3. Sean Green in the backfield. Green with the handoff. Bouncing outside. Maybe picked up the 2-yard line on the play. A pickup of 2. It'll be 2nd and goal.
Well, and that's impressive that he was able to even get those 2 yards. There was nowhere for him to go, and he just kept his legs going. They weren't able to bring him down at initial contact. He bounced it to the outside. Now, 2nd down. If you're going to do some kind of play action pass, this would be the
number 97 and 68. 97 and 68 have reported as eligible.
Carl Klug, big defensive end, is in as a blocking back. The give to Green. Green right at the goal line and touchdown. Sean Green with his 2nd touchdown of the season. And we talked about it a few minutes ago. Tennessee comes right down the field and suddenly it's a 1-possession game.
And then the thing you have to recognize is the announcement right before you have 2 eligible, an extra offensive lineman come in, a defensive lineman come in. Watch the block. This is your defensive lineman that just comes in. He's going to be the lead blocker. Green does a nice job of avoiding that first contact there in the middle of the screen. That was Barwin coming up in the middle, and he just was able to spin off him and get into the end zone.
So Ryan Succa for the extra point that would pull Tennessee to within 6. And such a strange feeling, Trent, that as much as Philadelphia has dominated this game, the Eagles lead it 20-14. Sean Green put the cap on that 81-yard drive that took just over 3 minutes. Zach Mettenberger handing out kudos as the Tennessee Titans are now within 6 at 20-14. Still a lot of time to play in the first half, 8:22. Chris Polk deep for the kick upcoming from Ryan Succa. On all the kickoffs today, we've yet to have a touchback.
Everybody's running it out. They're aggressive. Both teams are on the special teams, and it's paid off, especially on that opening kickoff for Philadelphia.
This one will be run back too. From the 1, Polk to the 20. And dragged down at about the 30-yard line. Good field position for the Eagle offense with NFL Mobile. Stream live local Sunday afternoon primetime games and NFL Red Zone right on your smartphone. Learn more at NFL.com/mobile. So Zach Ertz, we saw him leaving the field earlier, diagnosed as an injury to his right oblique, but deemed well enough to play. McCoy in the backfield, McCoy with the handoff. And not much there for LaShawn McCoy, the two-time Pro Bowl running back. Al Woods making the tackle.
If you think about it, Greg, the times that LaShawn has had the most success is when they've gotten him out in space, and he's struggled when they've been running inside the tackles. There's really been nowhere for him to go, but when he's had his most success in the running game is when he's been able to get outside and get in open space.
He picked up 2, 2nd and 8. Here he is again. Bounce him to the outside, inside a would-be tackler to about the 38-yard line. This is what the Eagles have done today. Just one punt in 5 possessions. The interception was in there as well.
And that's why this game has such a weird feel to it.
Sanchez, quick pass, complete. Jordan Matthews. Matthews down the sideline and out of bounds short of the 40-yard line. Pushed out by Damian Stafford. All the makings of a superstar, doesn't he?
He does, and from what the coaches and players are telling us, he's got that work ethic as well.
This is Sproles, and Sproles inside the 40 to about the 38. LaShawn McCoy, incidentally, 12 carries for 97 yards so far today. How come he's not the same guy?
Tell you what, he's still a special player. You get him out in space, and it's even the last big run that he had where he bounced it around to the left. They tried running it off left tackle. There was nowhere to go. He sat there, he bounced out, got outside the numbers, and was able to get a big gain. He still has that burst, still has that shiftiness.
Sproles to the 36. And as we come up on 6 minutes to play, now a 3rd and 4. And Tennessee looking for a way to bring this Eagles drive to a halt.
Well, and I think you're at a point in the field here where even if you don't get it, you're going for it on 4th down instead of attempting a 50 or 50-plus yard field goal. That should be the approach you have.
Pump fake, throws over the middle, and that's complete for a 1st down. Inside the 30-yard line is Zach Ertz.
Ertz will be coming over the middle. He's second, coming and sit down in the middle.
And back to live action, Ertz once again. Chip Kelly just doesn't want to wait to hear what you have to say.
They don't want to wait, hear, or see what we're trying to describe about their offense.
That is Michael Griffin. Down on the Eagles sideline. And reaching back for his shoulder, it would appear. Boy, losing him is losing a real big leader on that defense.
Well, he's a leader in a bunch of different ways, not as a run supporter and a hitter, and just his presence.
Saw that left arm trapped underneath him as he rolled. And he's in a little bit of pain. Griffin in his 8th season out of the University of Texas. Came into this game with 3 sacks, 2 interceptions on the year.
When it was interesting to watch the reaction of Chip Kelly because he didn't realize that since Griffin was off the field of play, he didn't know why the officials were stopping it. He was throwing his hands up like, hey, don't slow down our tempo. We got something going here on this drive, and that's kind of been something they've had to deal with the entire season is timing, how quickly they can get the snap off.
So Griffin appears to be in some real distress in protecting that left arm and shoulder. And we'll get the word on him as soon as we can, but it doesn't look good. Now watch his left arm stretched out as he rolled over.
You hate to speculate, but when you see an arm go back that way, you almost think like his left arm may pop out and then pop back into place.
And he'll head to the locker room. Or will he? Maybe not. Stay on the sideline. Meanwhile, 2nd and 7. McCoy. And now he will take a walk off the field and to the locker room, Michael Griffin. Sanchez on the move, throwing, and caught inside the 5-yard line at about the 2-yard line, and it is ruled a catch at the 2. Riley Cooper.
Sanchez buying time with his feet as he moves to his left, waiting for Cooper to get open. Good placement of the football there by Mark Sanchez along that sideline where only Riley Cooper can catch it.
Right back at him. McCoy to the end zone for the touchdown.
And Greg, that's the answer the Eagles needed. Just when this game, momentum-wise, seemed to be turning a little bit towards the Titans, they get the score to get this game under control again.
Good pass to Riley Cooper. Good job getting both feet down, and then McCoy with a hole off left guard. The extra point is good. LaShawn McCoy reaches the 100-yard rushing mark for the 3rd time this season. 27-14 Eagles.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by T. Rowe Price. Understanding the connections of a complex global economy. Invest with confidence. And by Bud Light, who reminds fans to stay in the game and drink responsibly.
A reminder, the Verizon halftime report coming your way. JB and company will have all the latest NFL scores and highlights from our studios in New York. First half analysis, too, all coming up on the Verizon halftime report. So Trent, exactly right. Eagles got just what they needed. A 69-yard drive in 10 plays, and LaShawn McCoy with a 2-yard touchdown run.
Well, they needed to respond. You could gradually see things swinging the way of the Titans, and Mark Sanchez put together a heck of a drive. Very accurate throws and good decisions.
And we will get a touchback here. He'll come out to the 20-yard line. Let's check in with Evan.
Well, guys, Michael Griffin headed into the locker room. It's a left shoulder injury. The official word is questionable. I happened to be right there when he went down, and he was wailing on the turf in a ton of pain. Now, this is a big deal because they're thin in the secondary. Remember, Marquestin Huff out today. Bleedy Ray Wilson out today. And Griffin actually told us last night, because they're so thin, if they lose anybody, they'd be in trouble. I'm sure he didn't think it would be him, but it's a questionable return officially with the left shoulder.
Thanks, Evan. Strange how that works, huh? The last person he thought of would be him. Bishop Sankey in the backfield. Mettenberger stepping up. The pass is complete. Sankey to about 24.
Mettenberger doesn't want to move around a lot in the pocket, but he does have the ability to slide and escape that pass rush. And Connor Barwin coming up the field there is able to dip that right shoulder, and Mettenberger was able to slide away from the pressure.
Number 68 is eligible.
Remember what Connor Barwin told us yesterday, how they go for the arm. They go for the passing arm, and saw Mettenberger with his arm held high. Sankey with running room. First down yardage across the 30 to about the 32. Brought down by Malcolm Jenkins.
Yeah, getting back to Connor Barwin, it was interesting. Talked about the drills. They said you don't tackle the quarterback. You're not looking to hit the quarterback's body. You're looking to tackle the quarterback's arm, trying to get those strips and trying to get those forced fumbles.
They lead the NFL with 16 forced fumbles, as you see Nate Allen on the ground and being looked at with 3:46 to play in the first half.
You know, both of these teams have suffered quite a bit of injury coming into this game, and it seems like every couple plays we've got another player down, whether it be a hamstring, shoulder, whatever it may be. It's they're mounting.
Sankey tripped up. Don't you wish when you were playing they were going for the arm instead of the body?
Yeah, that would have helped me a few times.
So Allen is able to walk off the field. Tennessee has 2 timeouts remaining here in the first half. Philadelphia, all 3 of theirs. Chris Maragos has replaced Allen at safety position. First down from the 32. Mettenberger batting on. Complete just in front to about the 38-yard line. 6 possessions, 4 punts, and then a couple of touchdowns.
Yeah, starting the game off 4 3-and-outs, but the interception by Sanchez gave them good field position. They were able to respond and get the quick touchdown, and then of course on that second series or the second touchdown drive, getting the long completion to Delaney Walker.
You see Nate Allen back on the field for the Eagles on 2nd and 4. Sean Green about 2 yards shy of a first down, so it'll be 3rd and 2. You know, there's plenty of promise on this offensive line for the Tennessee Titans. You've got Taylor Lewan, the #1 overall pick at left tackle. Andy Levitre, who has been a tough guard over the years. Schwenke at center, a 2nd-round pick. Chance Warmack, a 1st-round pick last year at right guard.
And that's why I think there wasn't a ton of panic by Ken Whisenhunt. Yes, you want to win these football games, but he knows he's building a program and building a system in Tennessee.
Mettenberger throwing outside, first down, Delaney Walker, and then some. And he is out of bounds at about the 40-yard line. And that'll bring us, when they wind the clock, to the 2-minute warning. 2 minutes to play here in the first half in Philadelphia. Tennessee trying to find the end zone again before halftime.
We're going to quickly show you how a veteran wide receiver does a rub route. Earlier there was an offensive pass interference. Here, as a veteran, Nate Washington puts his behind into the defensive back, Fletcher, and that into Boykin, and that's what causes Malcolm Jenkins to bounce over the top and leaves Delaney Walker wide open in the flat for the first down and some extra yards.
Just get in the way, right? That's right. First down at the Philadelphia 39. Throwing over the middle, wide open at about the 20-yard line, and it is caught. Nate Washington, and that's another first down for the Titans. Clock continues to move, 1:45 to play in the first half.
Washington's going to expand his route on the right and just run a dig. Well, Mettenberger, because of the pressure, slides to the left. That causes that underneath pressure or underneath coverage to slide with him, which opens that window for Washington to get open down the field.
6 straight pass completions for Zach Mettenberger. A minute 20. The pitch for Sankey. Sankey cutting it back, running room to the outside. 10, 5, and out of bounds. It'll be 1st and goal for the Titans.
You can see why the Titans are so excited about Bishop Sankey and his ability to read blocks, his patience, and his bursts here. The play's supposed to go to the outside. He cuts inside and is able to avoid the tackles. And as this is getting closer to the end of the half, the Titans don't want to give too much time for Philadelphia, but ultimately you want to get a touchdown, get this into a one-possession game going into halftime.
Bishop Sankey from Ohio, remember, said, who'd you grow up liking? I didn't like anybody in the NFL. I was a college football.
He's a college guy.
First and goal. Sankey trying to bring it to the outside again. Is going to lose yardage. Brought down by number 95, Michael Kendricks.
And here comes Chip Kelly getting a timeout.
So Philadelphia uses one of its three, the first of its three timeouts. Each team now left with two. We'll remind you once again the Verizon halftime report. JB and the guys chomping at the bit. You ever seen anybody actually chomp at the bit? Scores and highlights and first half analysis coming up on the Verizon halftime report.
Just trying to run a counter to the left, and the Eagles in hot pursuit. Nowhere for Bishop Sankey to go as he tries bouncing it to the outside. Ideally, that counter was supposed to be up inside, but the Eagles' reaction on defense forced him to bounce it. In turn, had nowhere to go.
63 seconds left. And the Titans now from the Philadelphia 7. Mettenberger on the slant. Washington to about the 2, it looks like, as forward progress will be marked. And Tennessee appears to use another time. Nope. Timeout, Philadelphia.
Three receivers to the right. They're just trying to clear out, and Washington will be coming in on a slant from the outside. Just trying to catch and get that turn up the middle.
So Chip Kelly still, Chip Kelly would just like to get, just let me get my hands on a kickoff return.
I'd say 58 seconds, that's a long time for Chip Kelly.
Third and goal from the 2.
They have Dexter McCluster in the backfield at running back, so anticipate a pass. They've got a flood over here to the right. Keep your eye on Delaney Walker in the slot to the right as he comes inside, stacking over the top of Nate Washington there.
Mettenberger with time, throwing incomplete. From the far side of the field, Justin Hunter. And on fourth down, field goal unit comes on. Would you be tempted to go for the touchdown here?
Well, I wouldn't be, just because of how early in the game it is. And so now you take the points. You get some positive momentum going in at half. It's a 10-point game. You have to remember you do get the ball coming out at halftime as well. So the big key is going to be stopping Philadelphia with what will end up being around 48 seconds to not go down and get some points before going into half as well.
Ryan Suckup from 20 yards out. And 3 more on the board for the Tennessee Titans. Zach Mettenberger looking for 7, has to settle for 3, and it's 27-17 Eagles. You talked about the stack on the bottom side of the field, and he was looking for the loner on top.
Well, when Delaney Walker came across, there was 2 defenders that jumped him, which created that window in the back of the end zone. See, Delaney Walker, he's going to come underneath here, and you got Wright working the back of the end zone. Now watch the defenders; they're going to be the ones that come up and jump on Delaney Walker, and that creates the lane. Watch the linebackers; they react to Delaney Walker underneath, leaves that window in the back of the end zone, and that's where Zach Mettenberger was trying to throw the football.
You know, this Tennessee team averages just 16.8 points a game. They scored 17 here in the second quarter.
Well, and now you got to understand, Philadelphia already has a 107-yard kickoff return to open this game up. So what do you do on this kickoff? You know that they're going to bring it out of the end zone. You need to try and kick it out of the end zone, or maybe you squib it to give them you don't want to give them a clean return, because ultimately with 50 seconds and 1 timeout, that's a lot for Philly, how quick they run their tempo.
Chris Polk is deep. He'll take a knee in the end zone.
I thought there was no way he was going to hold a stop sign on that, but they wanted to give their offense that extra time, not use up that valuable time.
So Sanchez and the Eagles with 1 timeout remaining and 51 seconds on the clock.
You know who it was that ran over there and stopped him, right? That was Brad Smith, that was a former college quarterback. So he's thinking, okay, the quarterback wants as much time as possible. So he was the voice of reason there to put the block on that.
From the 20. Sanchez throwing this side of the field and almost a diving grab by Riley Cooper off of his right hand, incomplete. 2nd and 10.
Well, Cooper runs a double move there, and just with the anticipation of the throw, you have to throw that ball early before he comes out of the second cut, and that's what Sanchez does. He just doesn't give it enough air and allow Riley Cooper to run underneath it. Some of that is due to the pressure that you're under as well when you have to throw that football.
Sproles in the backfield with Sanchez. Sanchez under pressure, got rid of it. Sproles. You hear the Tennessee Titans yelling on the ground. But Sproles made the scoop. And now we have a timeout call.
Well, now Tennessee's going to use up some time.
Maybe this is a timeout just to give them a look and see whether or not this would be something that they might challenge. Let's see. Or that will be reviewed automatically under 2 minutes. Sanchez avoids the sack. That looked really close to bouncing on the ground, didn't it?
Yeah, but it ultimately ended up being a loss of yardage and kept the clock going. And so if you're Philadelphia, you're glad they called because it caused Tennessee to use up a timeout.
So each team with 1 timeout remaining. Sanchez eludes the pressure, throwing over the middle, and he's got his man across the 40-yard line. Jordan Matthews once again. And they will use their 3rd and final timeout to stop the clock with 25 seconds to play.
Timeout. Timeout, Philadelphia. Their 3rd and final. This is a 30-second timeout.
Well, give credit on this play to Mark Sanchez. And Tennessee decides to gamble by blitzing linebackers. And by doing that, you're putting the pressure, but you're creating a lane for Sanchez to step up. But that's also leaving some windows up the field when you're in a 3rd and long. Sanchez avoids, slides up, locates, and Matthews does a good job of sitting down in the middle of the field and securing the catch.
Boy, he loves to throw to Jordan Matthews, doesn't he?
You know, we talked to him about that. Some of it has to do with just training camp, being the backup quarterback and getting the reps with the young receivers has really helped him now that they're both playing.
Sanchez got rid of it. Sproles eludes a tackler at the 45, looking for the sideline, and he gets there. Out of bounds just across midfield at the Tennessee 49.
That's an incredible effort by Darren Sproles. If he's tackled right there, either the half's going to be down or they're going to have to spike the ball and only have 1 play left to try and throw a Hail Mary. Now with 16 seconds left, the Eagles have options.
Sanchez, far side of the field, incomplete, out of bounds. 12 seconds to play. Jeremy Macklin was the nearest receiver. See Sanchez's number, 177 yards on the day throwing.
See, and I would have thought with 16 seconds left, they could have ran a slant or ran something quick over the middle, pick up a good 10 yards, and then by keeping everybody on short routes, you can run up and spike the ball and try a long field goal, but now you're leaving yourself little options.
Far side of the field again, and this time it is caught at about the 31-yard line by Macklin. Looked like pretty much the same play that didn't work the previous play.
Well, unless the Titans are crazy enough to let you get an out route.
Good catch on the far side of the field, and here comes Cody Parkey.
Looks like only 1 foot down. Be interesting to see if they don't blow this and take a look at it. Looks like he only has that left foot down, but
Parkey, good from 54 this season, and they are going to take a closer look.
See, I made my comments thinking Tennessee wasn't going to allow him to have an outside route. Let's see if the ball's secure. You have the 1 foot that foot is down, but is the ball secure? That's going to be the determination. At what point in time is the ball secure? Because that second foot is down.
Yeah, he did drag the right foot.
If the right foot was up in the air before that ball was secure, and I don't know if there's going to be enough evidence to overturn it, since on the field it was called a completion.
Well, let's say it stands. It sets up Parkey for a 49-yard field goal attempt. He's been good from 26 and from 36. On the season, he's hit 51-yarders twice, and his long is 54. Mike Carey, he's been missing us. Let's bring him in. Mike.
Always great to be with you, Greg. This one is just like you called it, too close to call one way or the other. The toe was down, but did he have secure possession? That's really the question. If I was in the booth, I would have this stand as called on the field.
All right, Mike, thank you very much.
That's unprecedented, Greg. I think Mike and I have agreed on something here now a few weeks in a row on some calls.
Don't get carried away. There's still another month left in the season.
Right. We got plenty of time.
After reviewing the play, the ruling on the field stands as a completed catch. First down, Philadelphia.
There's such harmony, I can't stand it. So now Cody Parkey gets a shot from 49 yards out. Parkey.
Please reset the play clock to 10 seconds. 10 seconds on the play clock, please.
Parkey is a rookie out of Auburn University.
Thank you.
And Tennessee, I was just going to say, sorry to interrupt you there, Greg. Tennessee still has 1 timeout, so if Whisenhunt wants to try and ice him here with a late timeout.
Kick is on its way. Upright.
Didn't really have a big hook or draw to it. Just went directly, it went straight as could be. It just happened to hit that upright. So
Tennessee withstands the late charge by the Eagles, and as you pointed out, they get the ball first in the second half.
Well, that's important. Just getting that momentum going into half, knowing you have the ball coming out, and with a 10-point game, feeling good about yourself.
This is the end of the first half.
Eagles 27 and Tennessee 17. And the Titans did not fold early, came back. Let's check in with Evan.
Here with Coach Ken Whisenhunt. Coach, that second quarter, your offense clearly got some momentum going. What changed?
You know, I think we just had to recover from that start, the opening kickoff, and then we didn't get anything going first half. One guy made a play. Obviously, the play to Delaney, the play to Justin, that kind of got us going, and, you know, we've done okay since then.
Coach, thanks for the time.
Thank you.
Greg, back to you.
All right, Evan, that is the end of the first half here in Philadelphia. The Eagles leading the Titans 27-17. Back with the Verizon halftime report after this message and a word from your local station. You're welcome. This is how our day started here in Philadelphia. The Eagles came out like a house of fire. Josh Huff returning the opening kickoff for 107 yards. LaShawn McCoy over 100 yards rushing in the first half. And then Zach Mettenberger, after completing just one of his first 7 passes, now has started to roll, finding his receivers. 27-17 Philadelphia as we get set for the start of the second half. Greg Gumbel along with Trent Green. 2 different ball games, it felt like, right?
Well, it's completely different. When you look at the start of the game, Philadelphia was in complete control from that opening kickoff. They were able to put everything together offensively. And for the Titans, they went their first 4 series of 3 and out. But the key play for the Titans was actually by their defense, which set up the offense. Here, they're going to bring pressure on Mark Sanchez. The Eagles do a good job of picking up pressure. So what Sanchez thinks is he has one-on-one on the backside to Riley Cooper. The problem is Cooper doesn't cross the defensive back space, and they're able to get the interception. Yee comes up with the interception, getting them in field position. The Titans, in turn, get the touchdown, get back into this game, and then had success. You mentioned Zach Mettenberger and what he was able to do. It all started from that series moving forward.
Let's check in with Evan downstairs. Evan.
Well, Greg, I spoke with Chip Kelly coming back onto the field, and I asked him, was there any concern or what happened in the second quarter when they were outscored by the Titans? He said it was just a few big plays. He really wasn't worried about it. He said they have to keep an eye on Delaney Walker. I asked him about the run game and their success in that area. He says he loves their scheme. His message, just stick to our scheme, guys.
All right, Evan, thanks very much. And the Tennessee Titans get their hands on the football first here in the second half. Bishop Sankey will run this one out of the end zone. To the 16-yard line and no more as we look at first half statistics. And as we talked about with the Philadelphia Eagles and that hurry-up approach to their offense, time of possession very often doesn't mean very much.
It doesn't when you talk about Philadelphia, but even though they have more time of possession, had to do with the fact that Tennessee, their first 4 possessions, had those 3 and outs and then got some things going. Zach Mettenberger started off the half 1 of 7 and then finished 7 of 8 the rest of the way.
So Mettenberger and the Titans from their own 16-yard line. And he'll throw right out of the box. A little pop over the middle. Sankey to the 20. Sankey to about the 24-yard line. As you look at some numbers from the first half, what do you expect Tennessee to do coming out here to start things off?
Well, I anticipate them trying to stretch the field again. Getting big plays up the field is what they were able to do effectively, especially in the second quarter. But Mettenberger has to make smart decisions.
Is an eligible receiver. 68 is eligible.
Mettenberger has to continue to make smart decisions like he did on that first down play. If it's not there, don't push it. Go ahead and hit the check down.
This is Sean Green. And Green has enough for a first down.
And they're starting off the second half.
Mike check.
They're starting off the second half much better than they did the first half, where it took them several plays well into that second quarter to get their first down. So being able to convert, did the nice play on first down with the check down, and then the run on second down to pick up the first down.
Now from the 29. Mettenberger, play fake. Running out of time, and he goes down. Breaking through is Fletcher Cox. His second sack of the season.
And Fletcher Cox was the player they talked about of being the defensive MVP, even though he doesn't have the numbers. Well, now he has the numbers after picking up a sack on this play. Mettenberger is trying to stretch the ball up the field. He's looking for a deep route to right on the right sideline, but just hanging on to the ball too long, not having that time before he can get to his check down.
Chip Kelly couldn't say enough about Fletcher Cox, could he?
He did. He was just very complimentary about everything about his game, and he said, you know what, guys, you don't see it on the paper, you don't see it with the numbers, but he is a factor on every play defensively.
Mettenberger stepping up, throwing over the middle and just out of the reach of his intended receiver, Kendall Wright.
Wright is going to be working. He's here in the slot. He's coming across the field. Just trying to get, I talked to you earlier in the game about layers, about how you're trying to get a deep, middle, and short route, and they had cleared out on the backside, trying to leave that open space in the middle of the field for Wright, and that time, Mettenberger just not able to connect.
Eagles Emmanuel Acho, linebacker, is gone for the rest of this game, we understand. We'll find out why. The groin injury. 3rd and 16. They need the 39-yard line for a first down. Mettenberger with time, pop over the middle, tipped by a defender, and the loose football. The loose football picked up by the Philadelphia Eagles. That was deflected by an Eagles defender, Fletcher Cox. Appeared to be grabbed by Brian Schwenke, the center.
The ruling on the field is that the pass was tipped by a defensive player, thus making all offensive players eligible. It was received by number 62 and advanced forward and subsequently fumbled and recovered by
Nate Allen, I believe, number 29.
See, that's the problem. Offensive linemen, they get their hands on their ball, and all of a sudden their eyes get big as saucers, because then they all of a sudden think that They're going to take off running down the field. And
After the ball was caught by number 62, we have the rule on the field as a fumble recovered by Philadelphia. 1st and 10, Philadelphia.
So the Eagles get a huge break.
And because it's a turnover, they're going to have to look at it. It appears that his knee is down before the ball comes loose.
The previous play is under review.
Well, the Titans are going to hope. Jerome Boger's made his decision. Let's take another quick look. Watch his right elbow hit the turf there. You can't really tell until you see the football there. Let's see if it was enough to change Jerome Boger's mind.
After reviewing the play, the rule on the field stands as a fumble recovered by Philadelphia for a first down.
Mike Carey, I gather you're going to think that if it had been called the other way, it would have stood the other way.
You called it, Greg, because we don't see the football and the body part down at the same time. It's only a guess whether it was loose or he was down by contact. So that's the way it goes, and it stands as called on the field. An unusual play for a lineman to be able to catch a pass, but because it was touched by the defense, it makes him eligible.
All right, Mike, thank you so much. This is LaShawn McCoy. McCoy juking left and right and out of bounds inside the 20-yard line. That will be a first down for the Eagles.
Well, and it's important to point out that Michael Griffin was the one that made that tackle, having what appeared to be a serious shoulder injury in the first half. He's now, you'll see him come into the picture here.
McCoy with the flags flying.
Illegal use of hands. Offense, number 69. 10-yard penalty. Replay, first down.
That's left guard Evan Mathis. It is not. Well, let's first take a look at this play.
There he is right there, the penalty's called on. Hand up in the face. He starts to pull, and then when he sees Woodyard coming through that A gap, he peels back and gets that right hand up in the face mask, and that's going to be called.
So 1st and 20. Cooper with blocker. Tripped up at the 20-yard line, falls forward to the 15. Tripped up by Michael Griffin.
Well, that's a heck of a play by Griffin, because when it initially is caught, you think they've got 3 blockers and only 2 defenders, that it's going to be a walk-in touchdown if he gets those tackles, he gets those blocks. Nice job by Griffin getting underneath the block and tripping up Riley Cooper.
You saw there on the sideline the Fleet veteran wide receiver Ryan Schwinke. Sanchez on the move, throwing, end zone, touchdown! James Casey. His second touchdown of the season.
And that is a great throw by Mark Sanchez. After the play fake, getting outside the pocket, on the move to his right. Look how he places this ball between the 2 defenders, over the top of the underneath coverage and in between the safety and corner. Perfect location, gives the receiver time to catch the ball, bring it in, get both feet down. Great throw.
Parkey for the extra point. James Casey once signed a contract to pitch for the Chicago White Sox. He's a better football player. 34-17, Philip.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Southwest Airlines. Book your low fare now at southwest.com. See Ellis. And by Kelley Blue Book. Find out what you should pay for your next new car at kbb.com.
A look at Franklin Field. Used to be the home of the Eagles, now the home of the University of Pennsylvania Quakers. Bishop Sankey deep. Sankey will not return this morning, and the Tennessee Titans will start at their own 20-yard line. Let's go back to the touchdown.
And what Mark Sanchez is reading here, you have a corner route up here. You have a sit-down route out here, and as a quarterback, you're reading the corner. You want to see if he drops or he drives up on the route, and that's exactly what Sanchez sees. He sees the leverage of the corner. As soon as he rolls out off the fake, he sees the corner react to that short route. He knows that he's got a corner route in behind him, and it's just a matter of making an accurate throw, and that's exactly what Sanchez did.
So now another mountain for the Tennessee Titans to climb, down 17. This is Sankey, left side. He reads his blocks really well, doesn't he?
He does. He has good patience. He has that burst to be able to, when he sees that crease, to be able to get to it, and the shiftiness and size to be able to sneak by the lineman as well.
Penalty markers down on the play.
Holding. Offense, number 77. 10-yard penalty. Replay, first down.
That's the rookie Taylor Lewan. The number 11 pick overall.
Well, here's the one right here. This is who the penalty is going to be on.
Just where he tried to get outside. Grabbed the hold of Fletcher Cox, so it's 1st and 20. Gets some of it back across the 15 to the 17-yard line. I'm telling you, it's strange. A couple of freak plays have played such a role in this game so far.
Yeah, both teams have had some strange stuff happen, and it's been a big momentum swing one way or another. Right when Tennessee, they get that score going into the half, they think they're going to come out here in the second half, get the ball, they get a first down, they get moving, and then ultimately have the sack and then the tip pass that Schwenke all of a sudden feels like he's a running back or a tight end after he catches the ball and gives it back over to the Eagles. So some crazy plays both directions.
On 2nd and 13, Mettenberger throwing, and he's got his man across the 30-yard line, and out to about the 31 is Nate Washington for a first down.
Nate Washington is going to push up on he's going to push up on the route. He's going up the numbers, making the defensive back Fletcher think that he's going to go deep, and that's a timing route. When Mettenberger releases that ball, that's before Washington even comes out of his route, and that's just a matter of reps and getting those reps over and over, knowing the body language and knowing the depth of that route.
Nothing wrong with Mettenberger's throwing arm, is there?
No, that's one of the strengths that he definitely brings to the field, is being able to stretch the field.
Sankey tripped up just across the 35-yard line. Gives us a chance to tell you tomorrow on CBS. There's a mole inside NCIS Los Angeles. No one is safe. Can't miss. New NCIS Los Angeles tomorrow at 10/9 Central only. CBS. When I asked you during the timeout, do you tell a lineman, Ryan Schwenke? I mean, he had the field in front of him.
Yeah, it's
drop it.
It's tempting, but you got to tell him just to swat it down, especially in that situation where you got to understand you're going to have to punt anyway. It's not like he was going to break a tackle and get 20-some yards, so just have to know the situation and knock it down.
Under pressure, he goes down. Trent Cole.
They're putting Cole on the inside here. He's going to go up the field. Barwin's on the outside, and then he comes back around. They've shown this look several times on 3rd down where they want to change things up from a pass protection standpoint, and Cole just does a good job of keeping it up the field, finding that window, finding that crease, and then bursting and able to get the sack.
3rd and 13. Under pressure and called timeout.
Timeout, Tennessee. They're first. This is a 30-second timeout.
Called timeout just as the play clock was about to expire. So this will be a quick timeout, and we'll tell you Week 12 continues later today on CBS, and for some of you on Fox. And then tonight with the Cowboys and the Giants on NBC. And tomorrow for the Ravens and the Saints on Monday Night Football on ESPN. The Jets-Bills game will be played in Detroit, to be seen on CBS in local markets beginning at 7 Eastern Time. You know that song, Let It Snow, Let It Snow, Let It Snow? They ought to take that record and use it as a frisbee. 3rd and 13. Mettenberger, as penalty markers are down in the backfield and further up the field. And that was Vinnie Curry in on the quarterback. Let's see what the flags are all about.
Generally, when it's thrown in that area, it's a holding call.
There are 2 fouls on the play, one against each team. Holding, offense number 72. Holding, defense number 24. Those penalties offset, replay, 3rd down.
So Michael Orr, the right tackle, guilty of holding on the offensive line. Bradley Fletcher, the cornerback for the Eagles, defensive holding.
So here's Orr here that they're going to get a call on. You see with that left arm, he just hooks. And then Fletcher right here at the bottom of your screen grabs the shoulder pad of Nate Washington and gets the call.
So we'll do 3rd and 13 all over again. Mettenberger down again. Looked like Trent Cole getting to him.
Well, they're going to get a late flag. Somebody for the Titans ends up kicking that ball. They're going to get a delay of game.
After the play is over, delay of the game, offense number 77 for kicking the ball downfield. 5-yard penalty, the down counts, 4th down.
And you saw Ken Wisenhunt going right to Taylor Lewan as he came off the field.
Well, and it's just a frustration. Lewan has been under pressure just because of the pass rush that Philadelphia has been bringing. He gets beat on the inside by Cole and ultimately gives up the sack. And Mettenberger drops the ball, and Lewan, as he's heading back to the sideline, decides to become a kicker and boot it down the field, and that's ultimately what's called for delay of game.
Darren Sproles back at his own 40. Got a chance to return this one. But not very far. He's brought down at about the 38, maybe the 39-yard line. 7:26 to play in the 3rd. Well, the Philadelphia Eagles have not had problems scoring points this year, averaging 30 a game. That's 4th best coming in. Jeremy Macklin. And down to Evan.
We're seeing Mark Sanchez bounce back after that game in Green Bay. And when we spoke with Chip Kelly, he said he had no fear that would be the case. And that goes back to recruiting at Mark's high school in California when Chip was actually with New Hampshire. When he was a coach there, he would go to Mission Viejo where Mark would work and was working out, and he saw that there, and he actually never watched tape of him with the Jets. He went based off of what he knew, recruiting him all the way back to high school when he decided to bring him in as a backup. A lot of faith in Mark Sanchez, who's only on a 1-year deal right now, guys.
Yeah, and we talked with Chip Kelly, and all the way back to the beginning of the show today, Trent, we asked Chip Kelly flat out, can any quarterback run this offense? And he said no.
He said you can't. You have to be an intelligent quarterback. You have to be someone that can make quick decisions and move on the fly, as everybody on the offense moved early that time.
False start. Offense number 71. 5-yard penalty. Still 3rd down.
That's Jason Peters guilty of the early start. Sanchez on in relief of that man, Nick Foles. Suffered the collarbone injury. When he suffered the injury, they said 6 to 8 weeks, but there is really no specific timetable for his return.
Yeah, there's not, and we saw him throwing yesterday at practice. It is his non-throwing shoulder that was injured, so he was just doing some pat and go and some throws to the receiver.
On 3rd and 9, that pass is complete to Cooper. Cooper, first down yardage across midfield and out of bounds. And a late flag.
There is no foul for unnecessary roughness on the play. The receiver did gain a first down, 1st and 10, Philadelphia.
Thought maybe we were getting really close to the Tennessee Titans showing a little frustration today.
Yeah, well, there is a late contact that comes up here. But it's a really good flop.
So first down. McCoy dishing out a little punishment of his own. Before the game today, Nick Foles was out there throwing the football, and looks like his recovery's going pretty well.
He looks pretty comfortable, and like I said, it's his non-throwing shoulder, so you can see even when he caught that ball, he caught it with just his right hand. He didn't reach down with his left to catch it, so we can't get anything out of the Eagles. We've tried. We've tried with everybody. Okay, what is it, 1 week, 2 weeks, 4 more weeks, and they're not showing the hand.
That would be the Bill Belichick approach. Yeah, we'll see. 5.5 to play in the third.
We'll get back to the intelligence of the quarterback and what Chip Kelly wants out of his quarterback. Talking to Mark Sanchez, he said a lot of offenses, things happen before the snap when you're making declarations. In this offense, the quarterback's job really happens after the snap when you're presented with a bunch of different options. That's when you have to make those quick decisions.
Sanchez throwing over the middle, intercepted. His second interception of the game. Picked off by Damian Stafford. And Stafford still on the run. Out of bounds at about the Philadelphia 40-yard line. So just as the Eagles appeared to be threatening again, Sanchez overthrows his intended receiver. Stafford is there, second pick of the day for Sanchez.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Taco Bell. The new way to Taco Bell is here, only in the app. And by Miller Lite. Back in its original look, it's Miller time.
The second interception of the day of Mark Sanchez. Third time he's thrown 2 this season. 27 turnovers for the Eagles this year. That leads the National Football League. Loose ball on the ground. Who's got it? Eagles say they do, and they do.
Looks like Benny Logan is the one that is going to punch this ball out. This one, it appears the Titans. You see 96 right there on your screen. He's the one that punches it loose. Then it kind of flops around. Fletcher ultimately is the one that ends up coming up with the loose ball. Happiest guy in the stadium is Mark Sanchez. After his errant throw over the middle, getting the ball back.
And that was just a bad throw.
It was just a poor decision on his part, and like I said, he's as happy as anybody in this place.
This is McCoy, and McCoy is tripped up. Let's go back to that interception.
Well, it's just understanding the pocket and realizing when you need to take those chances upfield. I want everyone to keep an eye on Mark Sanchez's feet. He's going to throw a crossing route over the middle, and his feet are parallel with the line of scrimmage. You cannot get anything into it as far as any sort of velocity on the football, and it just floats down the middle of the field.
That's the tight end, Brett Selleck. And Selleck makes it a first down to the 43.
And that's what, that's why people get so mad with Mark Sanchez. I know he's won a lot of football games. He's won playoff games, and why people got mad at him in New York is just some of that inconsistency. Just when you think, he had the interception earlier in the game, which I don't think was his fault, and he had some real positive things going. The touchdown pass he just threw was very positive, but then he comes and makes a decision or makes a throw like that, and that's why people get so frustrated.
McCoy to the 36. Sanchez since 2012, 18 starts, including today, 34 turnovers. And as much as coaches preach against turnovers, some of those hurt.
Well, and I can understand where you want to do so much. You never want to accept that it's going to be a negative play, but sometimes the defense wins. And And that's when Mark seems to make some of those decisions.
Sproles for a yard at the 35. As we duck under 3:20 to play here in the third quarter. A rare opportunity for the Titans to make a defensive adjustment as they get a chance to substitute a player or two. Sproles in the backfield on 3rd and 2. Sproles. Oh, first down yardage and inside. 25 to about the 23 or 22-yard line. What a sweet move by Darren Sproles.
Now just watch the moves that Darren Sproles makes. He's coming and he's going to just change direction and work his way in here. And the defense of Michael Griffin is right there to make the play as Philadelphia snaps the ball in 11 seconds, so we don't get a chance to see it. But maybe we're going to go back to it real quick. Unfortunately, the Titans have an injury down on the field.
That's Quentin Groves, the linebacker.
There's the previous play with Sproles again, and he's going to take off running to the left, or take off running to the right, and Griffin, I want you to see Griffin right there at 33. He's going to come up and be in position to make this tackle. Just a little stutter step by Sproles, acceleration, gets into the secondary, another stutter step move.
Defense. The defense had 12 men on the play.
It's like a video game with Darren Sproles.
Replay, first down.
Right in the center of your screen is Quentin Groves, who was laying on the turf, and then just as play was stopped and timeout was called, jogged off of the field to a hearty round of boos from the Eagles fans.
Well, they think it's all due to the fact that just trying to slow up this high-paced offense.
Meanwhile, Tennessee guilty of illegal substitution. 1st and 5. Sanchez looking, throwing, and incomplete. Hurts the intended receiver. It'll be 2nd and 5.
Well, Mark has to be careful right now not to show too much frustration. He has to understand he has a 17-point lead, and guys are looking at him. They're looking at his leadership. And, you know, I was impressed by the way he came into the meeting room yesterday. He seemed very confident. He seems like he fits naturally in this offense. But sometimes as a quarterback, it's as much to do with your body language that your teammates are seeing.
Good boy. Nothing there. Yeah, he was up demonstrating. He was up demonstrating to us. And we said, whoa, 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 take it easy. Practice is over.
Yeah, he really enjoys this offense. He thinks that it fits what he does very well, and you know, obviously he doesn't want anything to happen or didn't want anything to happen to Nick Foles, but he's excited about this opportunity and having a chance to run this offense and lead this team.
And as we said earlier, he says practice is much more hectic than the game.
Yeah, things slow down quite a bit during game time.
3rd and 6. Sanchez keeps, throws, complete. 10 to about the 6-yard line, and it'll be 1st and goal. Jeremy Macklin on the receiving end.
And this was clear and decisive. He made a quick decision on the zone read. He pulled the ball out, came outside, hit the pass. Very decisive with his decision.
First pull. Very little, if any, gain there, and we have a penalty marker down.
Holding. Offense, number 71. 10-yard penalty. Replay, first down.
The veteran Jason Peters in his 11th season out of Arkansas, 6-time Pro Bowler, went undrafted when he came out of school.
That's why that draft is a crazy thing. The evaluation part of it, I mean, I know you get a lot of players right, but there's a lot of guys that sneak through the cracks, whether they be late-round draft picks or undrafted free agents.
What did Chip Kelly say? So you go through all of this scouting and looking at film, and then you still don't know.
Well, a lot of it's coming down to trusting the college coaches, trusting the coaches in the weight room that work with them every day, trusting the academic advisors that do the evaluations of the type of work they put in.
On 1st and goal, Sanchez stumbles, still makes the handoff to Polk, and Polk, for progress, will be marked at about the 14-yard line, and another penalty marker flies.
After the play was over, personal foul, unnecessary roughness, offense, number 65. 15-yard penalty, the down counts, 2nd down.
Well, the list of offenders is beginning to spread out. That's right tackle Lane Johnson.
On Lane Johnson here, he's right underneath that. He's who the penalty gets called on and gives him a little extra shot. It's always the retaliation. You see him get pushed, and then he turns around to give a retaliation, and that's the one that gets called.
So 2nd and goal now from 29 yards out. Sanchez fakes this way, goes the other way with the screen to Selleck, and Selleck almost lost it. Regained control at the 23. And that will be the last play of the 3rd quarter as we go to the final 15 minutes. The Eagles are in charge, 34-17. Back after this message and a word from your local station.
This is the end of the 3rd quarter.
Hey, tomorrow on CBS, Two Broke Girls. Are they ready for a business seminar? And is it ready for them? All new, Two Broke Girls, followed by The Big Bang Theory tomorrow at 8/7 Central, only CBS. Start of the 4th quarter, Sanchez eludes the rush on the move and pulled down just inside the 20-yard line. Kicked down by Mike Martin, and so the field goal unit will come on.
Well, the crowd's hooting and hollering. They wanted a horse collar tackle, but he was just brought down by his jersey. The horse collar has to be inside the shoulder pads.
Must be very depressing when a quarterback doesn't even get the chance to slide, you know?
Tell you what, the defensive linemen, not only are they big, but they're fast as well, so protect yourself.
Parkey has been good from 26 and 36, missed from 49. This one from 35 yards out. And it is good. 14-14 to play in the 4th. 37-17 Eagles. Back in Philadelphia, Greg Gumbel, Trent Green, Evan Washburn, our producer Bob Monsbach, our director Suzanne Smith, and our entire crew extends its sympathies to Suzanne on the loss of her uncle, Mr. James Bender, this weekend. Rookie Antonio Andrews will run this one out of the end zone. Head of steam across the 20 to about the 22-yard line. So back comes Zach Mettenberger. Dallas Cowboys, Chicago Bears, coming your way Thursday night, December 4th, 8 p.m. Eastern Time on NFL Network. So from the 22-yard line, Mettenberger will see what he can do. That pass is complete, and let's get an update from the guys in New York. To New York, James Brown, JB.
And Greg, for most of you, up next will be Miami at Denver. Peyton Manning looking to get his Broncos back on track. They've lost 2 of the last 3, going against the 2nd-ranked Miami D, paced by that guy Cameron Wake with 8.5 sacks. That's next on CBS. Back to Greg Gumbel.
All right, JB, thank you. Coming up on 13.5 to play here in the 4th quarter. Mettenberger. Over the middle, almost pulled down spectacularly by Kendall Wright. It's an incomplete pass.
And once again, Mettenberger under pressure in the pocket, has to throw with bodies in his face and not able to step through on that throw.
And he really doesn't move very much, does he?
He doesn't. It's a slide left, slide right, maybe a half yard here or there, but he hunkers down, plants his feet, and fires that thing. And sometimes that's a good thing, and sometimes it can be a problem when you're faced with a bunch of pressure.
Only 10 first downs today for the Tennessee Titans. Mettenberger, and there's the hit from behind. The ball is loose on the ground, close to the 10-yard line.
Connor Barwin talked to us about attacking the arm and not attacking the quarterback's body, saying it's something that they work
on the field is a fumble recovered by the offense. 4th down.
Here's Barwin coming from the right, and he's not going for Mettenberger's the middle of his back. He's going for that arm. He's anticipating where that arm is going to draw back on the throw. He said they do drill after drill focused on the quarterback's arm, not focused on the body. So he said there are times we miss sacks because we're going after the arm, but we're trying to get the turnover. We're trying to get the ball, and he was able to knock it loose that time.
And yet another forced fumble by the team that leads the league in fumbles. Sproles is deep for the kick. Sproles from the 47. Tripped up as he crossed midfield and down at the 42-yard line. 12:26 to play in the fourth quarter. The Eagles with the ball and in charge, 37-17.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Verizon XLTE on America's largest, most reliable 4G LTE network. Game of War. Play free now. And by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
You ever run those Rocky steps, Joe?
No. Not even on a Stairmaster did I pretend to do it.
Brent Selleck on the receiving end of the 30-yard line and a first down for the Eagles. So that's a first down pass and right at it again. Sanchez on the move, on the run, throws incomplete on the sideline. Mark Sanchez showing he can throw on the move.
He's very accurate on the move, and the last two throws that he's thrown to his right, working that right sideline. Last time we saw it was in the end zone for the touchdown, and this time picking up the first down. You know, with the 17-point lead, I thought the Eagles would stretch this out and use up more of the play clock. Last time they snapped the ball in about 15 seconds.
No snap, he got rid of it. This is Selleck. Met by 3 Titans at the 10-yard line.
And Greg, if my math was better, I would have said 20 instead of 17, but
you'll notice I didn't notice.
Good job by Sanchez securing that snap as it was low, getting the play fake off and getting the ball to Selleck. Coming into this game, they had some problems with the shotgun snaps, but Sanchez just said, you know what, I've just got to catch the ball. I've got to be ready for it, I've got to secure it.
Sanchez again, and goes down to 12.
There was some miscommunication there. All 3 receivers down here at the bottom of the screen, down the bottom of the field, they were lining up for a wide receiver screen, so off the play fake, they were waiting for the quick throw, and Mark was looking up the field thinking it was going to be a down the field throw, so that's why he just took a slide and protected himself.
It's a normal thing in Philadelphia here where the entire team turns to the sideline and checks out what the play is going to be. You don't see that anywhere else.
So it happens a lot in the college game, but not very much in the NFL game, that's for sure.
3rd and 5. And he almost lost that snap. Trying to elude the rush, throwing to the end zone incomplete. Derek Morgan applying the pressure. And one of those snaps we were just talking about.
I was going to say it was the curse of the announcer, right? It's all the power we have up here in the booth. Right when we talked about how the snaps have been pretty consistent and secure, it goes right through his hands. So fortunate for the Eagles, he was able to get the ball back and get rid of it.
Cody Parkey has had a busy right leg today. This one from 30 yards out, and it is good. 3 more on the board. He's 4 out of 5 in field goals, 40-17 Eagles. Today presented by LGG3. Join JB and the guys back in New York for all the latest scores and highlights. Antonio Andrews get a chance to return this one on the run at the 2-yard line. Across the 20 to about the 22. Up next, NFL on CBS rolls on. The Dolphins taking on the Broncos with Peyton Manning, or Washington visits the 49ers. That's next here on CBS. So the Eagles have scored 13 straight points, and what was at times a competitive game has become something less than that now. 40-17 Eagles with 10:14 to play. And the education of Zach Mettenberger continues. Underneath, complete. Kendall Wright on the move. Back to midfield and slides down at his own 48 or 49 yard line.
Well, and I think that's what's important for a young quarterback, Zach Mettenberger, to understand here. With this game out of control here in the fourth quarter, just putting some positive things together moving forward for the rest of the season, making good decisions. You don't feel like you can't get all the points at once. Just put together some good drives, make some accurate throws, make some good decisions, and just have something to build on for next week.
Each team has turned the ball over twice. Mettenberger going to go deep, far sideline. Incomplete. Leaping for it, not being able to haul it in was Justin Hunter. Mettenberger has not had a comfortable day in the pocket, has he?
Well, the Eagles have put constant pressure on him, and you knew they would. When you have a rookie quarterback, you want to find out what he's got, and Barr went right there on the sack. The Eagles have had 5 sacks on the day, and they're constantly putting that pressure and seeing if he can make those tough throws under duress.
Mettenberger has Delaney Walker as a penalty marker flies on the near side of the field, and Walker out of bounds at about the 25-yard line. Let's check the flag, which is on this side.
Well, and that's kind of in the area of a pick or a rub that we've had a few times today. Also in an area we could get that illegal bump 5 yards down the field too.
Holding, defense, number 26. That penalty is declined. The result of the play, first down.
Kerry Williams, the cornerback, has the penalty called on him, and that play is good for 26 yards and a first down.
You're going to see right when he comes out of the route, I want you to see Nate Washington, that left arm gets pulled back.
Wow.
And that's what they call Williams on. That's a pretty touchy play. It's concerning the ball went the other direction and didn't have much impact on the play.
Mettenberger in trouble, throwing for the end zone, and it is caught for the touchdown. Nate Washington, and we have a penalty marker down. And we have back down on the field Tyler Lewan, the rookie left tackle.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be offensive pass interference on Washington getting the push off.
Pass interference, offense, number 85. 10-yard penalty, replay, first down.
Lewan's playing at left tackle. You'll see him here. He's on the end, and you're going to see a body fall into the back of his legs. He's doing a good job with his pass protection. Lewan's doing a good job with his pass protection, but then he just has the defender thrown into the back of his legs. And now Washington, you'll see, pushes off on the defender's back, comes back and gets the ball. That's about as touchy as that other play that we just had the previous snap where they called holding. Didn't look like a lot of contact by Nate Washington.
Boy, that's the offensive and defensive lineman's nightmare, isn't it? To get rolled up on from behind.
We're going to show you once again. Right there is Lewan. He's going to be blocking, and Brandon Baer just gets thrown into the back of his legs.
The 11th selection overall in this year's draft. And Byron Stingley will replace him on the field, number 68. Taylor Lewan, 6'7", 309. The former Michigan Wolverine. So we'll keep tabs on reports from the sideline. Meanwhile, it's 1st and 20 for Mettenberger. incomplete. And that one a little bit out of reach and maybe a little too hard for Kendall Wright.
And that comes down to feet again also, and I know we've pointed out that a couple times with Mark Sanchez, but Mettenberger, as he slides up in the pocket, just doesn't get his feet around to make an accurate throw when he's scanning the field going from left to right. You just have to make sure you get your shoulders and your feet in placements where you can make an accurate throw.
Second and 20. He moves the rush, throwing over the middle and right through the hands of Delaney Walker. Walker had to go up for it.
Looks like Walker may have mistimed his jump a little bit too. It goes through his hands. That would have been a heck of a catch to bring it in. Philadelphia's done a good job of putting pressure on Mettenberger with just rushing 4 and dropping the 7 defenders into coverage, which makes the passing lanes that much tighter.
Third and 20. Mettenberger.
Well, and Cole gets the sack, but he's also the one that's offsides.
Offside. Defense, number 58. 5-yard penalty. Replay, third down.
He's going to come up the field. He's trying to anticipate the snap count, and he's going against Stingley. Here he is down here. He's going to get a jump.
Yes, he did. About a step and a half.
And a lot of times the officials will blow that whistle just so the quarterback doesn't take the extra hit. But
third and 15. And the Tennessee Titans, the worst third down team in the NFL. That pass complete to the near side of the field. And that's Walker. And Walker out of bounds right at the first down marker. It is ruled a first down, so.
And Walker's one-on-one with Kendricks out in the flat. Good throw by Mettenberger, putting in a position where he can turn up the sidelines and he dives for the first down.
So now just inside the 15, and now let's see if they're going to. The challenge flag has been thrown by Chip Kelly.
The only thing I can think of is maybe they think he steps out of bounds, or his foot maybe drags out of bounds. It appears that he dives with the football.
Philadelphia is challenging the rule of the field of the ball getting past the line of the game.
So Jerome Boger will go under the hood once again, and we'll take a timeout with 8:11 to play.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Voya Financial, changing the way you think of retirement. And by Subway Restaurants. Get your own big hot pastrami melt at Subway.
We're going to show a couple different angles here. You're first going to see Walker's left foot step right on the line. You can see there as the toe extends, he is on the white line. Then we'll see a sideline angle here as well.
After reviewing the play, the receiver stepped out of bounds at the 17-yard line. We'll move the ball back to the 17-yard line and play fourth down. Please reset the game clock to 8 minutes, 27 seconds. 8:27 on the game clock. Philadelphia is not charged a timeout.
So Tennessee now with a 4th and 2, and that was pretty clear right there.
It was very clear, but it was Kerry Williams, the corner for Philadelphia, that was pleading
8:27 on the game clock, please.
With Chip Kelly in the sidelines to challenge that, because he saw the foot, and as the ball was being snapped, he was looking at the sidelines pleading for them to throw the red flag.
You know, that was right on the near sideline. I'm surprised the whole team didn't see it.
8:27.
Well, that's not right. We'll get this clock right eventually. They're looking for 8:27 to be played. There it is.
Thank you.
Here in the 4th. 4th and 2. McCluster in the backfield with Mettenberger. Out to the side, not even close to Delaney Walker. and the ball goes over on downs.
And that's the aggressive approach that Philadelphia has taken the entire day with the defense. Fourth down, don't sit back and wait. Just look at the pressure coming off the side here. You're coming from everywhere, and they're going to get through and put contact on Mettenberger, not allowing him to wait for that play to develop, having to get out and anticipate where he wants to place the football because of the pressure.
Here in the second half, Tennessee's drives have ended with a fumble, a punt, a fumble, a punt, and then the ball goes over on downs.
Well, now with 8 minutes, I know there's still 8 minutes to go in the fourth quarter, but you saw what happened to Taylor Lewan of Tennessee, and considering they have Dallas coming up in 4 days, at some point in time you got to start thinking about it.
Sanchez going deep and going up incomplete at the 35-yard line is Jeremy Macklin, and Jason McCourty was right there with him.
Macklin and McCourty going up for the ball, and you can see Macklin gets his hands on it. Just McCourty watches McCourty's right arm go up and rip that right arm of Macklin's away to knock the ball loose. But going back to what I said about getting some of these guys out, 4 of their last 5 games the Eagles have against divisions, and 2 of the next 3 are against Dallas. And as I said, they have a short one 4 days until Dallas. So
you've got to figure that NFC East is right up for grabs in these next couple of weeks. Let's go to JB in New York.
Ryan Hoyer making amends with 3 picks.
I tell you what, he was clutch. He marched him 61 yards. Billy Cunningham for the 37-yard field goal. Cleveland wins 26-24, breaking Atlanta's heart.
Improves to 7-4. Back to Greg Gumbel.
And par for the course for the NFC South, right? On 3rd and 12, Sanchez throwing over the middle and batted down. Nice play defensively by number 59, Wesley Woodyard, intended for Brent Selleck.
well, and why Philadelphia isn't trying to use up some of the clock? You have incompletions. You have.
How about it's not what they do? They really don't vary from what they do, and that's just hurry up and go get them and try.
I know. You see the play clock, how much time is left on the play clock, and you see the throws they make. That's just their offense. That's the way they run it. But
A cluster.
It's going to work for them today, but.
So 7:20 on the clock, and gives us an opportunity to tell you up next. The NFL on CBS. Oh, it continues. The Dolphins and the Broncos, or Washington and the 49ers. That's next here on CBS. Go down to Evan. Evan?
Well, Greg, just an update on Taylor Lewan. He headed into the locker room to have his left ankle evaluated. The official word from the Titans is a questionable return, but just watching him on the sideline, he was in a ton of discomfort, could barely put weight on that left ankle. He's in the locker room as we speak.
All right, Evan, thanks. So from the 49-yard line, Mettenberger. With time, that one is complete. Coming across the middle is Justin Hunter, and he's out of bounds inside the Philadelphia 40-yard line. Brandon Boykin pushes him out of bounds.
Well, getting back to Philadelphia a little bit, just the decision of continuing to throw the football and go at a fast tempo, at some point in time, there has to be a game management understanding of being able to use up the clock and trying to stretch this or shorten this game up when you have the clock moving.
Mettenberger had that one tipped at the line of scrimmage, and it's incomplete. Connor Barwin, boy, he is as disruptive as they come. And that's Kerry Williams limping off the field. Nolan Carroll replaces him on the corner. 2nd and 10. Your impressions of Zach Mettenberger after your first close-up look?
Well, I like his demeanor. I like the way he handled himself in our meeting last night, and he's not getting rattled underneath all this pressure that Philadelphia has applied.
That's a pretty good throw. Near side of the field, Delaney Walker with the catch, and that'll be a first down for Tennessee in the red zone.
You know, there's some young quarterbacks or even young players in general, when you step out there, sometimes the game can be too big or too fast for you, and it doesn't appear to be that way for Zach Mettenberger. He seems very calm and confident in what he's trying to get done, what he's trying to accomplish. The problem is getting the results on the field, and that's really what he's going to be evaluated, not only through this game, but through the rest of the season as the Titans decide his future and the future of the quarterback position in Tennessee.
Career high 155 yards receiving for Delaney and Walker. This one underneath to Justin Hunter. And that's down to about the 7-yard line. That is Jake Locker, the fourth-year quarterback.
Well, and that's what you ultimately have to decide here after this week. You have 5 games to go. Do you continue to go with Zach Mettenberger and continue your evaluation process of him as this season unfolds, or do you throw Jake Locker back in there and get another or an extra evaluation before things wrap up and ultimately decide what direction you want to go when the offseason hits?
Mettenberger under pressure, escapes the tackle, on the move, throwing in the end zone, and it is incomplete. Washington, the intended receiver, covered by Brandon Graham with the pressure.
Graham comes through, and it looks like he has him wrapped up. He's going to throw him down, but Mettenberger's not only is he tall, but he's got a lot of weight to him as well, as far as being able to rip out of those tackles.
Might be the first time today we've seen him throw on the run.
He wants to throw stationary. That's his comfort zone, but you're going to have to be able to move a little bit. That time he just wasn't able to be accurate enough.
Third and goal. Mettenberger will throw this one over. So now 4th and goal.
Well, you have to go for it. It's 23 points. You need a touchdown. You need 3 touchdowns, and 2 of those touchdowns you need 2-point conversions on. So I think if you do end up scoring here on 4th down, you go ahead and kick the extra point. Then the next couple of times, if you have that opportunity, that's when you try for the 2-point conversion.
You know, I remember your math deductions a little earlier in this game, and there was nothing to shout about. So let's just wait and see.
You were supposed to forget about that.
Mettenberger throwing, and that is caught for the touchdown. Number 22, Dexter McCluster. McCluster's first touchdown of this season.
McCluster's coming out of the backfield from left to right, and 3 receivers to the right, and just clearing that out, and he's working underneath. Walker goes underneath the top, over the top, and McCluster's able to get open underneath. And Mettenberger, once again, standing firm in the pocket with all that pressure collapsing around, and puts an accurate throw on McCluster.
A lot of crossing in the defense. Sucker for the extra point. And it is barely good. Sneaking inside that right upright. 5:43 to play here in the 4th quarter. And Philadelphia now leads it by a score of 40-24.
McCluster's coming out of the backfield, and Graham is the one who comes up in coverage, and he just misses him. He's trying to make a collision at the line of scrimmage. He just dips underneath him. He tries to grab him. It's too late as McCluster works underneath the other 2 routes coming from the far side of the field.
So Mettenberger, 19 of 35 for 324 yards and 2 touchdowns. Wouldn't surprise us to see an onside kick here.
No, you'd have to come with the onside kick, try and get the ball back. I know you're still sitting on a couple of timeouts as Tennessee, but with 2 touchdowns and a couple of 2-point conversions away, you need to get the ball back. And you just got through mentioning Zach Mettenberger's day, and someone that's hasn't seen this game is going to open up the paper. 19 of 35, 324, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. He had a great day, and not that he's had a bad day, but there's been some throws that he could have made, and you can see the pressure that Philadelphia has been able to apply to him with the number of sacks. Looks like Philadelphia's sitting on 5 sacks at this point in time. So
Philadelphia's also sitting on this onside kick with 10 Eagles up front. 46, Zach Ertz.
Please set the play clock at 5:42. 5:42. Thank you.
That's Ertz right there. You're going to see the wall of green come up and just try and make a nowhere for Tennessee to get through and get after that football. And Ertz is able to secure it before any player can come up and make contact with him.
Now this will be interesting to see the Eagles' approach here with 5:42 to play. Do they continue?
Right.
And I'm guessing, Trent, it's just simply what they do and how they approach the game.
Yeah, but at some point in time, he's going to come back and well, what's this? He's taking a snap underneath center. So this is something new we haven't seen a lot of today.
They picked up a yard. It'll be 2nd and 9.
Look at everybody for Philadelphia. They're up at the line of scrimmage. Now they're like,
this is a rare breather.
They're like, wait a second. What do you mean we're going back to huddle?
We don't do this. We don't huddle. This must feel so strange to the Eagles offense. They just don't do this. All the way down to 2 on the play clock. This is pulled again.
I think Tennessee would start using. They have 2 timeouts left, so you could take one here and take one after the 3rd down.
3rd and 8. So now this next snap won't happen until about the 4:15 mark. That was a wild guess on my part.
I was going to say, you've been giving me a hard time about my math today. Let's see if we can figure this out now. Actually, it's going to be pretty close.
No, it's not. 3rd and 8.
Well, plus, they're not going to take it all the way down to 1 second anyway.
Sanchez, quick pass over the middle, complete, first down to the 35-yard line to Ertz. And now it really doesn't make much sense for Ken Whisenhunt to use his remaining timeouts to stop the clock.
Right, and it doesn't at this point in time. They're trying to get the ball outside to the flat. Ertz just comes in, sits down as the flow of the defense goes. Good read by Sanchez, getting inside, getting that sit down right over the middle, and for the Eagles' sake, keeping the clock running.
We talked at the beginning of the day about how this might be, if the Eagles didn't take it seriously enough, a trap game simply because of what's coming ahead of them on the schedule.
Well, and they're still licking their wounds, or they were licking their wounds coming into this game with the beatdown they took up at Green Bay. And now with the next 3 games, 4 days away down in Dallas, where they've lost 3 games. Philadelphia's lost 3 games. All 3 of them have been on the road, so now they've got a short week, and then they've got to travel to Dallas. And, of course, coming back in Week 14 against Seattle, and then that second game against Dallas in a short amount of time.
I think there will be enough said about who wins the NFC East in 3 weeks. 2nd and 6. Chris Fulton. Hit it on the near side of the field. And they're going to wind the clock. And now Tennessee calls a timeout with 2:34 to play. They have
Timeout,
1
Tennessee.
remaining.
Their second. This is a 30-second timeout.
So we talked about that AFC playoff picture and how many
Please set the game clock to 2:36.
were alive.
2:36
New
on the
England
game
a
clock.
winner today. Cincinnati a winner today. Indianapolis well on its way. And Cleveland a big victory over the Atlanta Falcons. Houston a loser at the hands of the Bengals.
Well, if you look, the AFC North, the AFC South is still in the mix, and then, of course, the AFC West. So you've got, other than New England, who's got some separation, the other 3 divisions are all coming down to the wire. Which is exactly what the NFL wants. When you start looking at everybody's schedules, moving those division games to later in the year so that they have more importance when it comes down to playoffs. And speaking of division games, You mentioned those 2 games against Dallas that Philadelphia has coming up. Dallas is sitting 1-1 in the division, and Philadelphia is sitting 2-0 in the division. So those will all come into play as well over the next few weeks.
So the Eagles almost sashaying up to the offensive line. This is pumping in. And not much happening there. And the final timeout being used by the Titans as we look at the NFC playoff picture. Philadelphia's win will make them 8-3 and will keep them atop the NFC East. Atlanta a loser today.
4-7 is Atlanta, and that entire division is still in the mix. But the intriguing ones are the NFC East and the NFC North. And then, of course, San Francisco and Seattle still in the mix with Arizona having some separation out west.
What you're saying is this is no time for prognostications. 4th and 7. This is a 50-yard attempt by Cody Parkey. Straight enough, long enough, and perfect. So Parkey from 50 or more yards is a perfect 3 out of 3 this year. Make it 4 out of 4, excuse me. 1 from 50, 2 from 51, and 1 from 54. And he's been 5 out of 6 today. Look at the schedules remaining now for the Eagles and the Dallas Cowboys. We talked about the Eagles going to Dallas Thanksgiving Day and then coming home to play Seattle and Dallas before they finish at Washington and at the Meadowlands against the Giants.
Well, and even though Washington and the Giants are both struggling, the fact that those are division games, they're on the road, that makes those much more difficult games than you would think just looking on paper. And then for the Cowboys, having to go to Chicago, who knows what the weather will be like there, and then a tough game against Indianapolis at home, on bookends of the Philadelphia game the second time. So it's just going to come down, 2 of the next 3 games are against each other head to head, and then ultimately having those division games wrapping up the season as well.
Antonio Andrews deep for this kick. He will not be able to return it. So once again, it will be the Titans from their own 20-yard line. Mark Sanchez on the day, 30 of 43 for 307, a touchdown and 2 picks. As you look at the other numbers, you said it yourself after we met with Mark yesterday that he looks like a different guy from the guy who used to quarterback the Jets in New York.
Yeah, he just carries himself differently. He seems a lot more comfortable, seems a lot more confident. I know he had a couple errant throws today, and that's going to be frustrating for him, but when you can put 43 points up on the board and still full frustration, that's a good thing as a quarterback, because there's room to grow, and he's continuing to grow in the system as well.
Mettenberger going to go deep down the sideline. It is incomplete. Number 15, Justin Hunter, had it and lost it. And Bradley Fletcher had a lot to do with it.
Well, and the pressure that Mettenberger was under as well. He wasn't able to step into this throw completely. He underthrows it. Hunter has a couple steps on Fletcher and has to come back for the football, and when that happens, Fletcher is able to break it up.
2nd and 10. Coming this way, and that's not even close. Nate Washington. And down on the field is Brian Schwenke, the center. The injury bug has hit both teams today.
Watch the defender here. Here's Schwenke over here. He's going to have somebody fall on the back of his leg, but it's the defender that comes off and ends up falling into the back of his legs.
Ready to roll.
Oof. Taylor Lewan injured earlier. The left tackle. He's not out there, and now looking at Ryan Schwenke on the field. So Schwenke will take the slow walk to the sideline. He would appear to be done for the day. And Chris Spencer, the 10-year veteran from Mississippi, will replace him. Meanwhile, the Eagles on their way to a 10th straight regular season win here at Lincoln Financial. By Byron Stingley.
Offense, number 68, 5-yard penalty, still third down.
So Trent, you got any Monday plans?
Are you trying to say this game is stretching out a little bit long here? Yeah, well, actually we do. CBS Sportsnet Monday Quarterback with Rich Gannon and Steve Berline. So that's what I'll be on tomorrow. Wrap up what's going on around the league with all these different games.
Hopefully this one will be over by 3rd and 15. Mettenberger, far side of the field, and grabbed over there nicely by Nate Washington. He's out of bounds. And that throw had a little heat on it.
That was a laser. That you're working the far sideline. You're stepping in the pocket with people falling around your feet, and you're able to put that on a rope out there on the sideline with the defender attempting to undercut it and get a pick six, but good velocity on that ball by Mettenberger.
And that one is picked off near the 40-yard line by number 22, Brandon Boykin.
And Boykin was the one on the previous play that tried undercutting it and getting the interception. This time he does get the interception.
Just outfought his man for the ball.
Came back and there was competition for it, but able to bring that ball in and just rip it away from Justin Hunter.
So the line of scrimmage is the 41-yard line, and Sanchez and the offense come back, I'd say ostensibly to run out the clock, but you never know. That's the victory formation. There's the knee, and that'll take us to the 2-minute warning. 2 minutes to play here in Philadelphia. Mark Sanchez back in the winner's circle. 43-24 lead. Once we wind down here in Philadelphia, Dolphins and the Broncos and Washington and the 49ers. 2 minutes to play. Sanchez takes another knee. And once again, the NFC playoff picture looks like this. Green Bay a winner, Philadelphia a winner, and New Orleans grabs the lead, such as it is, in the NFC South by virtue of Atlanta's loss today.
Well, and the pressure's on Dallas now to keep pace with Philadelphia. With them having a game here together in a few short days.
Third and 12.
Dallas playing the night game tonight against the Giants in the Meadowlands, and then having that short week, having to fly back on a short week and be ready to go on Thursday.
What do you think the short week does to the players? Is it less time to get rid of the soreness from the?
Well, there's certain weeks you want to have a short week. You want to, Tennessee would love to have a short week because of this score. They want to get back out on the field as quick as possible. And in Philadelphia, they're feeling pretty good about themselves. They're going to sit back. You want to get healthy. So if you have some guys that are banged up and you'd like to have a longer week, but that's the schedule. You've known it since it came out. So you've just got to be ready to roll. And
So the Eagles just take the delay of game and run the play clock all the way down, and they have 35 seconds now on the clock.
So to answer your question, Greg, it has more to do with how the flow of the season's going, how you're doing from an injury standpoint, to be able to have the quick turnarounds.
See, these Eagles have rebounded very well from the spanking they got against Green Bay.
They have, and this will be their 10th win in a row at home, so they do a good job of winning football games on their own turf.
Michael Griffin is deep, and he will grab this at the 6-yard line. And he will be brought down at about the 12. As for these Tennessee Titans, they won their opener, lost 4, then won 1, and now they've lost 5 straight. And they will travel to Houston, then be home for 3 of their next 4. Home to the Giants, home to the Jets, home to the Colts, and on the road to Jacksonville. And this will be the last snap of the day. Mettenberger will do that. And Mark Sanchez and the Philadelphia Eagles, 43-24 winners, came out and did everything they had to do against the Tennessee Titans to rebound from last week's 33-point loss at the hands of the Green Bay Packers. Once again, 43-24 Eagles over Tennessee. Up next, it's Miami at Denver or Washington at San Francisco. For Trent Green, Evan Washburn, for the rest of our terrific crew here in Philadelphia, Greg Gumbel saying so long from Lincoln Financial Field. You have been watching the NFL on CBS.